Hello, dickheads. Welcome to
Oh,
Anti-Monarchist Gaming. I don't know what that virtual camera thing is I just clicked on, but
to be fair, you say gaming, I'm just playing fucking Skate 3 in the
I
background.
I
Uh,
mean, what's it? The only game we play here is that you got to piss on the monarch. But
yep.
I mean the king, not even on about the queen. She's already resting in piss. She's resting in a fucking big fountain full of piss. It's time to piss on
Don't
the
piss on
king.
corpses, you'll get arrested. It's not a good idea.
Well, will you get arrested if you piss on people? To be fair, it
Yeah.
all depends on whether they enjoy
Yeah,
it.
but you'd see the satisfaction in the shock on Charles's face. That's the difference.
I mean, to be fair, he's probably used to it at this point.
Yeah. He's definitely a guy who seems like he's into getting pissed on. But anyway, time to talk about Oswald Mosley, another fucking piss.
Yeah.
On the topic of people you should piss on, Oswald Mosley, who was a fucking massive collaborator with the Queen's fucking dad. So, and I'm pretty sure fucking Stoned can rant about that shit forever. But yeah, no, essentially, apart, as far as I'm aware, there was a plan to coup the government with Oswald Mosley and the Queen's father.
So, uh, there was a plan with Oswald Mosley. I cannot remember whether it was with her dad or her uncle. It might have been with her uncle because the plan was to basically take Churchill out of power and side with the Nazis.
Yeah,
Um,
which can make which
it's
doesn't.
interesting that Churchill didn't want to side with the Axis because Churchill in 1944 or 45 turns around to Mussolini in a message. It must have been 44, maybe even earlier. He sent a letter to Mussolini. Actually, yeah, to be fair, probably more time around 42, 43. Either way, he sent a letter to Mussolini, turned around and going, maybe I am a fascist. Ooh. He also
Well, I
lost
can.
his mind around this time. Like,
I
if you ever look at like any account from Churchill post 1944, 45, guy's a disheveled maniac.
And
Like,
they still fucking re-elected him.
well, I mean, he lost when he tried to get elected after the war.
But then
People
they
didn't want
fucking
his
elected him
shit.
like 10
People
years
didn't want his
later.
shit. People were really sympathetic and in many ways empathetic towards the Soviet Union. I've met a
But,
geezer who was born in the 30s and grew up in that post-war period. And like he'd owned plenty of ladders and he didn't have much problem with me being a communist, which, if he was someone who was born in the 50s, you'd know if I mentioned I'm a communist, it wouldn't go the same way. He's had
and
a pretty fond opinion of the Soviet Union, even though he didn't have the best opinion of the Soviet Union, which is
if he wasn't a
not the wrong
Marxist or anything.
opinion to be had when you really think about it.
Like,
Soviet
because he
Union has
saw
more
the,
problems than it does have fucking good fucking notes to tune.
like,
Um,
especially past a certain point, but even during its peak. But, like, it had fucking massive problems that were later rectified. One by other regimes and two by theory. But, essentially, in
it
all
sadly
of
wasn't
this,
rectified by the Soviet Union itself. Instead, it decided to blow
no.
itself up.
No, it was not rectified by the Soviet Union.
Literally in 1986, and governmentally and state wisely in 1991.
What I wanted to put on about is I can make theories why Churchill didn't want to join the Axis, and most of the reasons I can think of is just because he was worried about German expansionism. Like that he was worried about the expansionism possibly donning into his territory, which I don't think would have happened if he joined with the Nazis, but like he absolutely could have been paranoid still, even if he thought that that wouldn't be what would happen.
Uh, I think he saw it as a losing game the way the Nazis were
Yeah,
fighting the Soviet Union
because
more so because the way Churchill operated was okay. Well, we need to strike deals with the Soviets, but then try and push a position where we occupy more land than we actually dealt with them. Like he was trying to play games. Like World War II was actually delayed in its ending on the Western Front by Churchill to ensure that the Soviet Union got no more extra land than it could, take
then
in
it
its
had to
seizure.
get
But I mean, if we're gonna talk World War II, like I mean, the Soviet Union. in 1943 sits down and makes a lot of agreements with imperialist powers, signs treaties like an imperialist power. Well, it was literally signing them as an imperialist power. It sat at the seat of tables and chopped up the world, as every empire has ever done at the end of a world war, and they always do it before the world war ends. You know, they decided what they wanted in 1914 before World War Two, before World War One had even gone for a year of its existence. They decided what they wanted in the Middle East. They decided what they
It,
wanted in Europe, and
but
in the Soviet Union, what happens when they go for their little meeting at Potsdam? The Proletarian International ends. They end the Third International. Was that part of their imperialist deal? Did they end the Proletarian International as a part of an imperialist deal? Because that is some really big fucking horse shit to step yourself into. And so before Khrushchev even came to power, they'd fuck themselves into the dust by doing that. You know,
like they could have recovered, but it was
Proletarian
not a
International was
positive
the only
step.
thing that kept the Soviet Union pushing itself forward. What does it have to direct itself to if it's only focused on its own gain and its own
It
development?
becomes
It
it becomes
becomes
a
it becomes a social imperial power because then it only helps countries that can benefit itself.
in a
Hence its
sense it becomes a
relationship with
national
Cuba.
Bolshevik idea. Not in the
I
sense
mean, the
that we know
idea
it
is inspired from somewhere.
today.
I mean, it's taken a reactionary position. So, I mean, the National Bolshevism of Germany took this same reactionary position where it becomes very
Yeah.
inward and imperialistic and starts to fetishize imperialist symbols and culture. I mean, the Soviet Union at one point was like doing the stylization statues of their soldiers as Roman soldiers,
Which Rome
with
is
a sword
literally
and
called
shield.
Imperial, quite known as Imperial Rome for a reason.
Byzantine
Like
moment.
it's literally the
Brezhnev
first
having his
fucking Imperial
Byzantine
power.
moment because he's got a god complex. But everyone thinks Brezhnev is like
I
a big Stalinist.
I just wanted to touch back upon something though, which is to go back to Oswald Mosley. And the thing is with Churchill, I think he would have been more open to cooperate with Mussolini because he was less expansionist in a European context.
I don't know
Like
though, because we were already at war with
not
Mussolini
fully
before World War Two started. So
true.
Britain and Italy was having a war over Kenya
That's true.
and
The
Ethiopia.
true. That's definitely true. However, I don't think it seemed as big of a threat as when the Nazis touched down in Poland or France.
We were very protective of our African colonies because that was the
We
new
were, to be
developments. That
fair.
was the new developments. One thing that's to take with how colonialism operated. We treated Africa as a basket for human resources. We didn't consider its material wealth at
Yeah,
first. It's why that like most directives of plundering today are directed at Africa because Africa is the seat of wealth when it comes to it because we focus more on slavery than we did on actual resource extraction there. So imperialism has circled itself around and has been trying to focus on Africa for the last century and a half, trying to direct itself more to those regions because for the last like what 4 centuries we've been very well developed in the industry side of things in the east and eventually over in the west as well. Africa, we'd forcibly left them behind because we were taking the people by force, and so when you're taking generations of people, you're basically taking away the people that would have made those developments already anyway, colonialism or not. But eventually, imperialism has sought the need to try and force rapid development of bourgeois institutions of power so that they can specifically extract these resources, as we see with the Chinese, British, American, Russian, and other developments in the region. French, EU specifically,
the,
because French and
the,
Germany are one and the same at this point.
I think it's also, in terms of talking about Oswald Mosley, I think it's important to also not just touch upon his like influence in terms of the royal family sense, but in terms of the idea that his variation of fascism was probably one of, if implemented, probably one of the more dangerous and viable implementations of fascism. Because,
He's an underestimated fascist because there's a lot of funny pictures of him getting his ass whooped.
but
Um,
but fucking, but like fucking Hitler. I don't think he was exactly a maniac, but his ideas were the ideas of a maniac. I don't think he would have. Actually, no, a maniac could run a country. He may have been a maniac, especially towards the end. But like,
I mean, Hitler lost his mind by 1943, but I mean, a big mistake Marxists make is they think Hitler was stupid. Hitler is one of the most
no,
intelligent foes we've had. Yeah, he writes like a bit of a fucking gimp, but
yeah,
so do I. I wouldn't go call myself an idiot because I can't fucking write properly. Like, at the end of the day, he was a better tactician than half of his fucking generals. Like, if they had actually followed his tactics, they wouldn't have won the war, but they might have got a couple of more years out of it.
no, yeah,
I mean,
because if you look at the,
not
if you look
actually
at,
though, because the Soviets and the British had actually conjoined a plan. They'd occupied Iran around that same time. Another
plus if
imperialist action of the Soviet Union, I might add. And the what's it for their occupation and coagulation of Iran, which fortunately the Soviet Union did actually back out of it in a respectful fashion. They were still signing treaties over the fact that they were doing it with the imperialists on a basis of with two superpowers mediating how different countries operate
also the
over the
countries
process at the end of
around,
the war,
because
which is getting in the way of self determination. They did step out in the end, which allows for self determination to occur. But
but
you are
they
being the
halted it.
referee. Yeah, you're being the referee of nations with the British.
It
But
it's what
either way,
happens when
they
you.
had a plan to bomb the oil fields in the Caucasus. Probably not the most
It's what
environmentally friendly
happens when
thing.
you.
It probably wouldn't have done too well for our ozone layer problem, but it would have stopped the Nazis from getting their resource benefit from Hitler's tactics, which was to attack south and then strike up north. But the Nazi generals are like, well, if we take Moscow, we've won, which is not how a war works. Maybe it's how it worked in like the days of like the 1400s, Mr. Nazi General, but this is strictly 1940 fucking two. You ain't gonna fucking win like that. And as we know, the Battle of Moscow was a massacre for the Germans. They didn't even manage to get properly into Moscow before they got their asses kicked. And Stalin got to say the badass shit of wanting to stay there and blow the entire city up with him with it, like a fucking martyr. Like, what a G. I always said that, like, instead he's going to be dual wielding the Moles and the Gantz, and just by the force of his fucking genocidal will, he'll fucking make the bolts move themselves. Because, you know, Stalin is the big mass murderer who killed the 7 gazillion people. Along with
Oh,
Mao, who killed
absolutely.
like 70 gazillion people, I hear.
That's the funniest thing, the statistic that Mao killed more than Stalin, which
Yeah, because
I
Mao
don't.
was Asian and Stalin was Georgian, so we've got to be more racist towards the
He's
Asian guy.
almost
There is a
white.
level of racism. You've got like the Georgian, he's like almost, he's almost there, so we'll be slightly
He's
racist
all.
to him. And then
He's almost
you've got the
white.
Chinese persons. You know, this is just how the British like to do things because we're very caste minded. You just be more
Well,
racist towards the Chinese person. That's
well,
the
yeah,
law of
because they
things.
didn't
And if
just.
they're
They didn't.
black, good heavens for them.
Well, I mean, yeah, they're Chinese, so they must like, they're Chinese. So why didn't they just respectfully die of opium
I
poisoning and
mean,
let us take their country? Like, like they dared to stand up to us. So like clearly they're the bad guys in this situation. But
like, what's it? If we didn't do the Opium Wars, China would have been the next power to take over after the British Empire. Not Britain,
absolutely,
not America, not Russia. It would have been China.
not even like the.
I mean, Russia might
No,
have
it
become in
would
a close competition with them. Like, Russia
actually.
and
They
China were very developmental in the processes of industry, but by the 1800s. You know,
for a second.
they were both at a similar level. It was just what happened with the opium wars is all those Chinese industries just got completely flummoxed by the fact that this cheap opium that's been forcefully legalized has been pushed in on the mass. How can you have a
I
stable
forget.
workforce and then the British Empire is just moving its industries in en masse and
I forget.
forcing people into these nasty jobs under the empire where there's this industry being developed by the empire too. We've got to remember what happens with capitalists when they take over for colonialism is they force development rapidly because it interests to them so they can export their industry. And by the time of the mid 1800s, the British were already exporting their industry. I mean, that's why Caleb makes this weird conspiracy that Britain was controlling America. Basically, we
Oh
used
yeah.
America as a bitch for our industry when they started developing industry. because we were the world's dominant superpower. So we did that with France too. We did that with everyone. That's just
I
how empire works. So America did that with us in the 60s. Like,
I forget, was the Ottoman Empire still around when the Opium War started? I can't
Yes.
remember.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
like because I was gonna mention the
yes, the
Ottomans,
Ottoman
but I'm
Empire
pretty sure that
dissolved
they,
in 1917, if I
but
remember rightly.
but the Ottomans had a sort of situation where they sort of. I'm not saying that they were absolutely gonna die, but they probably weren't gonna survive the next century.
They were committing genocides left, right, and center. A revolution
They,
was rising. The British abused
yeah,
the British abused many revolutionary struggles through Lawrence of Arabia, and then backstabbed them all, and instituted the Saudi Arabian crown. Now, Saudi Arabian crown is not a Bedouin monarchy; it is a British monarchy. It is structured off the British monarchy. It was implemented by the British. Saudi Arabia is a construction of the British Empire as much as Israel is, as much as Jordan
it's
is, as
and it's
much as the oppression of places like the Gulf of Oman are
and
as
it is
well.
used and it is used in much in the same way that Idi Amin was used to control a section of Africa. The Saudi and Israel worked to control a force that, if united under its own people, would be able to completely cut off the resources and the narrative that the Western hegemony puts out. If I'm not even saying if every country was like socialist, if every country in that region was more like Iran, there would be massive problems for like the Western hegemony as we know it. I'm not saying that other problems wouldn't develop. Obviously, Iran has massive ties to Russia and China and stuff, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean, yeah.
The colonial culture as we know it would not be the same if like they were cut off in the mid 20th century. And
Yeah, I
that's
feel you.
another thing. Because I'm glad you cycled it back to the Saudis being an extension of the British monarchy. Because Palestine is the British's fault. I'm not saying it's only the British's fault, but it is in a majority. In a majority, it's their fault because they had the land in the first place. And
Well,
originally, as
we
you've said
basically
before, it wasn't Palestine.
we sold it to the Americans basically.
Palestine was a section of a greater landmass, I believe Syria, right? It was
Yeah,
originally
we
part of
chopped
Greater
it up
Syria.
between us and the French.
Yeah.
Jordan is a part of British Palestine that we kept when we sold what is now called Israel off to the Americans,
I I
because
have to
we were
fucking visit
selling off
Nablus.
parts of our empire as a way to basically pay less dividends to the Americans for the fucking project that they were doing, where they were pushing
And
money into Europe because Britain was very concerned about America dominating its empire. So they sold bits
and
of its empire to
also
them, which I
and
mean,
also
kind of self
it
defeats the point.
makes it makes so much sense from because it makes so much sense because I will say most of the super hyper Christian Zionists in the modern day come from Baptists or like certain more radical Protestants, but like the Anglican Church was a massive fucking benefactor of starting Israel. Like, as much as they try and proclaim themselves as more traditional, the Catholic Church, as much as a lot of things are the Catholic Church's fault, the Catholic Church has never recognized the Jewish right to own Israel, to own that landmass. Not officially.
They don't have a right to own that land, man.
They don't, but I'm fairly sure the Anglican Church has recognized their right, whereas the Catholic Church has never. There are a lot of things that are the Catholic Church's fault, but I just wanted to qualify that before talking about this stuff more. It's just for clarificational sense.
These matches are pissing me off.
That
I need my
cigar,
bigger matches. It's a schizo. I don't know what the fuck that means, but
I thought you
I had
said
some Nicaraguan cigars. They're a little nicer to smoke. So
for a
if this one
second.
keeps me in a day.
I wouldn't be surprised if you were just lighting up a blunt. Honestly though, I've never learnt to roll with tobacco skin though, so I wouldn't know how to roll with blunt wraps.
I mean, blunts are just the same as rolling with anything else.
I guess, yeah, I'm shit at rolling anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Well, I don't smoke fags, so it's sort of a thingy. But no, yeah, like we see what happens when a monarch dies. Like you don't a lot of people don't realize how propagandized the royal family is day to day. But as soon as one of them dies, we see how much it acts up. You know, you see the wall of like, we are a free country, the monarchy doesn't really matter and stuff just fade away as soon as like one of them dies. Philip, who wasn't well regarded, even though he's definitely my favorite monarch because he was fucking hilarious. But like even he who wasn't well regarded got like moments of silence, full state. The few days there in Sky News where it felt like the clock had run back by 200 years. And in all of this, it proves how little has changed. Because if you look at the infrastructure in Parliament, a lot of them are not just Labour aristocrats. They're aristocrats of the British aristocracy.
Petty bourgeoisie.
Yeah, petty bourgeoisie definitely, but I mean like traditional aristocrats.
But that's where the petty bourgeoisie come from. So I mean, like
Yes,
basically, when the British Revolution happened, sorry, the English Revolution, Britain didn't exist yet. So the English Revolution happened. They were pretty oppositional to the petty bourgeoisie, or what was probably still referred to as a feudal aristocracy at this point. They'd only just lost their power. They're quite oppositional to them. They just usurped them for a revolution. They didn't want them to have any power in society. Well, when the English Revolution collapsed and the monarchy came back to power through Charles II, or I think it was Charles the 12th of Scotland, but Charles II. I think I got that number a bit too high, but either way, Charles II. He the only English Revolution that I'm speaking of is the one with the 1640 which had the 1648 Republic. But when that failed and Charles II came back to power, the bourgeoisie, and Engels talks about this, the bourgeoisie had this like fetishization of the feudal aristocracy, and so they kind of like combined them into they gave them a purpose in their system and formulated the petty bourgeoisie. And a lot of feudal aristocrats either became petty landowners or proficient self-owned workers, and got themselves a very favorable life in society, being able to still stay in their very aristocratic cushion. The reason why the labor aristocracy is called the labor aristocracy is because the petty bourgeoisie is the aristocracy. The the gentry was another common term used to call them, but you would see them commonly as aristocrats. If you're not a capitalist, you're an aristocrat. Like that's sort of the really easy process of looking at it. Like if people want to boil it down that way. You're not a capitalist and you're in the upper class, you're an aristocrat.
There's something that I actually want to mention in saying that, which is that in terms of not even just in like bourgeois culture, but especially in traditional right-wing culture, there is a lot of iconography which plays back to feudal periods. Like the idea, especially in the Gulf Wars, Iraq War, and Afghanistan, Syria, etc. There is a lot of fucking crusader imagery taken on not just by the propagandists but by the troops themselves in certain cases. Like the idea that you are a crusader who is civilizing these, but like actual
the British Empire mentality. Oh yeah, we were terrible, but we taught the world. We brought them prosperity.
Oh, obviously we weren't the nicest in genociding like billions of people. However,
We
like they
didn't
would
though.
have
We
been in
we
mud
stemmed
huts
the world
without us.
backwards. We stemmed the world
Obviously,
backwards to rape it for its resources. You
we
know,
could if
like if we hadn't, if we like, even think local, if we hadn't have raped Ireland, Ireland would be leaving Britain behind in long ways. Most of Britain's ability to feed itself came from the fact that it used Ireland, Wales, and the north of Scotland as its bread
oh
baskets, and the north of England was used as its industry basket
if
and the bread basket, and so was
if
Wales used as a basket of industry, and so was Scotland. They were
yeah
raped
the
for their
now
resources and stemmed backwards in a tide that put the Norman kingdom of Great Britain into great power over the people it oppressed, and it did this around the world. Its genocides were patterned over what it had been doing for now 860 odd years to the Celtic people.
now I do still believe that like
Actually, to the
and
Celtic
you
people, it's been longer than that. That's just to the Irish. Sorry, the Celtic people,
now
it's got to be over 1,000 years now.
now I do still believe that like even without
Yeah, it's gonna be like
the
1,300 years. 1,300
even
years.
without all of the colonial stuff, there would probably still be a relationship between the Britannic Isles just because of the geographical location and generally the history that we've seen even before settlement.
Oh shit.
However, obviously it would be massively different and the balance of power would probably shift radically to what we've seen today had that not happened. Like because even you've said that in a post-revolution idea of what of a decolonialized England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales, there probably would be some amount of reconciliation and conversation
I
and
mean, like,
mutual
I
trading
reckon one
between
thing
them.
that's gonna happen is that the Celtic peoples are not gonna want to be in a union directly with England straight away
No,
after. I don't think that that's an option that English people have a right to push at the moment anyway, until we've actually reconciled with the problem. But I also feel like in England, it's not going to be this like separated thing. People think it's going to be like, okay, like when we're talking about like, okay, North England having its contradictions and to the south culturally. I don't want it to be a separate country from the south. What I want is a union where North England has its own separate power basis to the south. So it is not, if the south decides to go back to its old ways, we're not fucking beholden to that, and we can go about doing things our way, so that we have a
because
basically a right of self determination if they do fuck us over. Because that cultural
because
difference does mean a lot when it comes to commitment to struggle and all that. You know, the reason why these cultural revolutions are very important is because the culture that we are beholden to at the moment is corrupt and full of shit.
I- I'll be heading off soon, but I did want to just mention something, which is that, and this is nothing towards like, my Scottish brothers and sisters are in the struggle, Scottish comrades and stuff, but we do have to address the fact that like, in the colonial context, not all of these struggles are exactly equal, and that in terms of the Scottish side of things, there was a lot of Scotland that was involved in the forming of what we know today as colonial Britain, and that does have to be recognised, and that and that not to like place like any favoritism or any sort of like privilege over somebody for not being from somewhere or anything, but it does have to be recognised that Scotland did have quite a substantial part in the forming of colonial Britain as we know it today. Not to take away from Scottish struggle, obviously.
No, no, Scottish brothers and sisters have got some radical struggle, and the Scottish proletariat certainly aren't as pro-monarchist as the English
No,
proletariat, but there's
but it
still
does
it
have to
does
be
that
mentioned.
sentiment still exists there. You got to think a lot of the culture of the British monarchy comes from Scotland. Those red coats that they
Yeah,
wear, that's a Scottish thing that comes from
there's
the
a
Scottish
reason that
monarchy.
not even just that they played bagpipes at the Queen's funeral, and it doesn't surprise me in the
She
least.
is
Now,
she is part Scottish. Like I mean Norman Scot, but she is still part Scottish.
now,
Like so that it's a part of their oppressive rule. Like this is the thing that me and Lumpen Celts actually had a conversations on. It's like South England and the Lowland Scots are really the big power basis in the union. Those are the
and
people who had the
and
most rights
like
over people in the union. But it's even more complicated than that because Scotland, you know, towards the 17 and 1800s, they basically, those serfs and peasants that actually got a better time in the southeast of Scotland compared to the northwest.
and
They were soon thrown into the labor force, and that oppression then went and seeped through in there, and it got even worse for the people who are the Irish diaspora. If I've heard about Little Ireland.
And if you also haven't heard about, I mean, hell, you can see it in fucking Celtic and Rangers, just like the fucking like
Bro,
ramifications of it.
the Celtic got fined for fucking
Yeah.
doing Palestinian solidarity.
Well, yeah, because there's no such thing as freedom of speech. But
Bro, I got fucking silenced. I know it's a video game, but I got silenced on a video game for calling fucking Israel fascist. And I even went on my statements when I was having this argument with someone. It's just like I probably wouldn't be as fucking bothered about wanting Israel removed from the fucking game if they actually had the Palestinian flag in here. But they don't even have that low level of fucking basis to just have a Palestinian flag, so I can show solidarity in that regard. And I bet there's a big fuck you to the Israeli players. But they can have their
just,
tanks in the game as a big fuck you to anyone who's got respect for fucking Palestine. It's like, what the fuck is this fucking gay ass shit?
but
But it's everywhere now. Like,
yeah,
fascism and the support for these colonial projects is waning up because they need to advance them forward so that Britain and America and the EU can keep its power basis over the world because it's threatened by the fact that China and Russia are rising empires. I mean, France is still trying to go down the line of trying to get on the side of Russia, but Russia's frustrated at this point by the seams of things and is acting in what we'll call imperialist baby tantrum mode because that's all Putin knows how to do is go through years and years of meticulous mediation and then just throw a tantrum and go to war in Ukraine because he has no more patience.
there is something I wanted to mention just before I'm heading off as well. Like, not because we talked about Lowland Scots and stuff, and this isn't to insult anybody who is from like Edinburgh and stuff. Edinburgh does have a lot of culture. Like Lowland Scotland does have
Edinburgh's
like quite a
beautiful.
bit of culture to it, but there is a bit. You do have to untangle it from some of the bullshit that's there. But there is a clearer culture than the south of England. Well, certain parts. I have to be specific about that, you know, because there is Cornwall, there is other places like that.
No,
But
Cornwall's not in England.
it
Cornwall's
isn't
occupied
true.
by England.
You're right.
Cornwall's its own space,
Yeah,
and so Cornwall is not in the south of England; it's south of England.
yeah. Fair enough. I cocked up. But I'm gonna head off
It'd be
if
like
that's all
it's
right,
like
lads.
saying Brittany belongs to France. I'll slap
You're
you.
right. You're
I'm
right.
just trying to be funny. Don't
I
get
know.
yourself too much.
No, it's not that. It's just I'm bet. I'll be honest. Like I heard about half of what you said because I'm trying to land this fucking thing in Skate 3.
It
But
can
I
be
knew
a
I cocked
difficult
up.
game. I was shit at playing that game when it was out.
I fucking love it though. It's like crack to me. Yeah, and I say it's like crack to me because I only do heroin.
Don't whenever I'm stoned, I keep getting like comments accusing me of fucking being on that shit, and it's like, have they ever heard of the words marijuana? Has that ever
You're
occurred to
smoking
them?
it on stream. It's not like you're subtle about it either. But anyway, I'm head off, lads. Night.
Remember to smoke, not to jab.
Right.
I understand, brother. I'm not gonna smoke heroin anytime soon. I'm just gonna do a shit
It's
ton of
easier to
mescaline.
quit if you smoke instead of doing it that way.
I'm
That's
just,
what I was told by someone.
I'm just gonna do a shit ton of mescaline.
Because I know someone who I met at at a fucking homeless hostel thing where you go. And like their advice was, you either need to eat a lot of sugary stuff or smoke a lot of weed. So if you ever get a nasty addiction like that, either
No,
smoke shit tons of
honest.
weed, eat loads of sugary stuff, or smoke the tons
Oh,
of
thank
weed,
you.
and you'll eat the sugary stuff automatically because munchies is the thing that can kick in. I mean, when
Anyway,
I had to get
Thank
off
you.
MDMA, I just smoked a lot of marijuana.
anyway, peace, bro. I have turned off before we end up talking more, because
Oh,
we can do this for hours.
respect, brother.
Respect, brother. Peace.
Well, go on then, G.
Yeah, Neil says he's gonna jump on after he's done eating.
Yeah, good stuff. I mean, King Charles, I think he's gonna present people with that more hands-on monarchy that a lot of the British people have been calling for in the pro-monarchist section. They want the
Yeah,
monarchy to be more
I heard he's stripping
represented.
Harry of a lot of his titles and stuff.
They did, and they're giving out new titles to people as well.
To Andrew, the pedal brother.
I think Andrew's taking Charles's titles, Prince of Wales.
I think he gave that to William already.
I mean, if he's given that to William, that's probably a smart idea for public face because William's probably the most popular royal right now. I need to get a proper cigar clip, I think, so I can fucking. Cause cutting it with scissors, you just end up with bits in your mouth all the time. So I've gone and poked
Hmm.
a shit ton of holes in the back, which is alright, but it's not as nice tasting when you don't just have it fully exposed. I could poke more holes in it, but it probably would start get dusty at that point. Be just as bad as cutting it with the scissors. I mean, that's it. The biggest process people really need to take from all of this that's going on is that monarchy needs to end. It needed to end a long time ago. It's an old feudal process that fucking England itself had rid itself from it before. It can do it again. It should be even easier this time. Oh, we need a guillotine.
Yeah.
I mean, what's it? At the end of the day, people need to really take into consideration. Oh, shit. Fucking sandfly. What the monarchy represents, what their power basis is, the fact that they not only have power as a as a political force, being the active head of state of not just Britain, but I think it's now 15 other dominions. I think there's one that's left now, and there's other people that want to leave because no one likes Charles. But
Yes, Charles has had a state of Canada, Australia, New Zealand.
yeah, but he's also head of state of another. It's 15 nations.
Yep.
And it's done through a governor that the monarchy is supposed to have no ability to manipulate, although they used the governor of Australia to coup the Australian government, and this letters that prove to this end.
Or the Governor General.
Yeah, yeah. The I'm definitely not manipulated, but half the time I'm actually related to the Queen, Governor General. I mean, people seem to forget how many of their relatives are like all over the empire and typically take up titles like lords and governor generals and therefore easily dominate the empire and its interests as the head of state of many countries that advises many governments. I think you could arguably say that there was no person alive that advised as many governments as Elizabeth. Not only the British government in the UK, but also the empire governments that she's advised. Heck, she was one of the first imperialists to be right on the ball end of grooming Nelson Mandela. Actually, the British Empire in general was pretty much on the ball end of that. I think I do need a few more holes in this. Pokety, pokety, poke. But, you know, what's it, like, excuse my lateness, but I shall be joining you in a bit. Yeah, mate. What's it? Get here when you can. That's just how it is, brother. Right. It didn't help. That's a bit better.
Coming on.
You only have these for special occasions, and when the Queen dies, you gotta have a cigar. To be fair, this isn't the first one I've had for the occasion. I had one of my slimmer Nicaraguan ones the other day. What's it called? Fuck. Um, they're called Maduros. They're a lot nicer than these, but you know. These ain't the worst either, to be fair. I had these what's it? Can't remember what they were called, but I had these like cigarillos, and they were fucking fire. And I can't remember what they were called, but I need to get them from the site I got them from again because they're fucking proper good. Some of the smoothest smoke I've ever had, and it's a proper cigarillo. It's it's not light. It's not a light smoke. It's some proper brand. I can't remember what it's called. What do you think about the police brutality against peaceful Republican protesters that happened yesterday? I haven't actually heard about what happened with that yet, to be honest. I've been a bit fucking clocked out. Not been having the best few days. You'll have to fill me in on that. Discord me a link on Wagwan. Can't seem to get perfect pull on this. There's a new gender
Yeah,
neutral. Oh, sorry, go on.
Red Fitty and Punk. So he'll be joining here soon.
He's RCU now. Okay. Drag him in by force. Beat him with stick in the street.
Charles just visited Belfast, right?
I mean, what is it? That won't surprise me. I mean, there's already media faces worrying about the fact that King Charleses have not been very fortunate for the people of Britain. They're like, this guy's namesake's got a bad legacy. Let's not have that happen again. Even though they probably want him to be like Charles II. Let's hope he's like Charles I.
Mhm.
Not in the sense of the genocide stuff, but in the sense of causing his monarchy to end by being such a buffoonish king. Maybe in the same way, attempted coup would be funny. For old time's sake. Where's Guy Fawkes to blow up Parliament or some shit? I don't know. Funny stuff. It was a joke, by the way. Just for legal reasons. Guy Fawkes is long dead, just in case anyone's wondering. They caught him. And so now we burn him alive every time we do bonfire night. Well, a straw or stick version of the geezer. Guy Fawkes got turned into a fucking the Burning Man, which actually I think is Burning Man itself is actually a Native American thing. Right there. I might be wrong about that. That's where that comes from. Turtle Island. We just reinterpreted it because I mean we haven't. I mean, our celebration of things with fireworks comes from Britain's Oriental period, which is much later than this. So people seem to forget how long it took us to master gunpowder. Oh man, that's a stinker.
There's one right there.
So like we've all heard crazy stories of how Hitler escaped World War II. I think my favorite one growing up was the one where like he survived on a barge, living off beans, like tons and tons of beans. That's got to be all about. He's got to have a lot of fractions in that regard. But I think we know really what happened. So if Ronald Reagan has just been Margaret Thatcher in drag for years, Queen Elizabeth is just Adolf Hitler's alter ego. That's how he escaped. No South Africa escape. He was just the Queen for like 70 years, and then he died. To be fair, that makes the fact that the Queen lived for so long even worse than it already is. Like, she's already the High-Cuntess of the British Empire.
Two buses. Was that? That's the bus, yeah. Just to get on. 5% on the bus, though.
Socialist transport. It's going to turn you communist if you get on that public transport.
5% on the bus. Probably two buses because he's going to be full.
Yeah, but it's a socialist transport. It's going to make you commie. It's going to start preaching like Leninist propaganda at you because it's the public transport.
Yeah, I'll take the next bus. I hate being crowded.
If you get on the private transport, it will help sell you insurance.
Well, they send a small bus and it's pretty crowded, so probably be another bus coming.
If you get the private transport, if you get the private transport, they'll sell you insurance. If you get the public transport, they'll turn you into a communist. That's the American way. That's why they gotta slash all public stuff because it's all gonna turn you communist. You get Social Security, it's gonna make you a communist. Yeah. I can't, like, someone was probably sniggering when they came up with the name Social Security, fucking SS.
Yeah.
fucking. I know that there was like people at the original NASA admitted that NASA was named NASA. They went out of their way to name it NASA, so it sounded like Nazi.
I
Because
think FDR might have got his idea for Social Security from Hitler, to be honest. I know they got the Autobahn, the highway system here from Hitler.
I know that he got a lot from Mussolini, so like what's it?
Yeah, that too.
I mean, he turned around and said that like if in it was in 1923 or 1927 that if he ever got into power, he'd he'd go down. He'd like to do
Yeah.
things the way Mussolini does things. He even turned around and said that he's not a big fan of democracy.
Hmm.
Thought it's a hindrance. I mean, makes sense for a guy who what did he serve like 6 terms? So I
Yeah.
think it's more than that. I don't know, like it was like 1927
Hey,
or
Gabriel, got a lifeline today. Got a
1927 until
lifeline.
1943.
I'm up for an interview. I got approved. So start tomorrow. I'm looking for a place. I'll pay my security deposit, first 3 months rent, and all my utilities each month. So tomorrow I'm looking. Sorry, I was talking to some friends of mine going to the shelter with me.
No stress. Be careful not to dox yourself.
What's that?
Be careful not to dox yourself.
Yeah, true.
Where is that red Venian punk?
Yeah, the news media over here is pretty sick. Oh, gushing over Elizabeth's death and all that. It's fucking sickening.
Ah, man, nothing like Americans and completely throwing 1776 out the window as soon as a royal dies or a marriage happens. You guys are fucking so unprincipled. You're so unprincipled that even at a moment where you guys should be the people cheering more than anyone because, like, you're actually free of the British monarchy. Like, there's something America could actually say for itself. That's actually the only part of the American thing that was actually a revolution was freeing itself from the monarchy. And, like, where's the cheers? Where's the people chanting in the streets going, whoa, one of the other witches are dead. One of the other fucking dictators are dead. No, they don't think like that. They go, oh no, the British people must be so scorned. Americans are just British people. They're either British people or they're colonized people who are, for some unknown reason why identifying themselves as Americans and probably need to stop because they're associating themselves with people that would genocide them in a moment. Uh, get away. Get away, get away, get away.
Shelter in 2014. There's a volunteer there that's from England. She's definitely English middle class. And
Oh
like, I don't
no.
think she's a hardcore royalist per se, but like, she would say like in a quaint way to people, "Oh, God save the Queen," and I'd fire back, "Up the Republic, down to the Union, down to the Commonwealth, up the Ra." She didn't like that one.
Remember you telling me about it?
Yeah, you had her voice too. You're like, "Hello," like English middle class. Hello. I forget how you said it, but you nailed it how she said
Hello.
it. Yeah.
I mean, to put it in like the shortest of terms, middle class Angloids suck ass. Not in a pleasant sexual way, like in a you're just walking down the street and someone starts sucking your ass. Like it ain't some like sexual thing. This is like some weird like invasive. That's what the English middle class represent. Invasive arsehole sucking. Weird metaphor to
Yeah,
go with.
that volunteer was like, "Oh, my American cousins." And I go, "I'm not your cousin. I'm Irish and Scottish." She didn't like
American
that either.
cousins.
Yeah, I go, "I'm not your cousin, because I'm Irish and Scottish."
Ain't no goddamn American.
Yeah, she would though. Oh, God save the Queen! Off with their head. Now he's fire back up the Republic, up the Raw, f the Crown, f the Union.
No, you know what's the best thing to do when people like say "God Save the Queen" is to continue the lyrics of the song that they must be singing, which is "The Fascist Regime." That's what you say next, and you sing it in key with the Sex Pistols song because you can't
And
piss
God
them
save the
off.
Queen. God save the Queen. Shit, no human being.
God save the
Should make
Queen.
you a
It's
moron.
God
England
save the Queen.
screaming.
And it's God save the Queen. The fascist regime make you a moron. Potential H bomb.
Yeah. Shit, no human being. England screaming. There's no future.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did that song on a boat behind the Queen's Flotilla too, I believe, on the River Thames during the I think the Silver Jubilee.
All I can say with like Philip and the Queen is that they must have been in some like dark pact where they combined their life force with each other. Because when Philip died, she had like 3 months in her, and then she's gone.
He kind of looked like Palpatine from Revenge of the Sith in Star Wars. Philip.
He looked like Palpatine from Rise of Skywalker, and I mean before he absorbed the fucking dyad or whatever the fuck those two dickheads were. I'm on about like
Well, they say
fingers
that.
falling off Palpatine at like the start of the film.
Yeah, right from your punk was telling me whenever Philip, make his dictionary comments, English society laughed it off. Like, oh, look at him, he's just naughty.
I mean, when you look at him in like the early 2000s, where like he's like this still articulate, and he looks like just an older version of himself, and then you look at him in like the
Yeah.
2020, and he's like, how is this guy still trying to get behind the wheel and drive cars? What the fuck?
Yeah, to right
Yeah,
punk
one of
said
their
too.
relatives,
Charles
one of their relatives was slightly disabled, so they went and stuck them in a home.
two was Elizabeth's cousins, two of her cousins, like JFK's dad did to his sister.
They never visited them.
And JFK's sister was just bipolar, and he lobotomized her and put her in a home. Like,
Eugenic mindset.
yep.
They don't want any of their lineage coming in from these defunct people.
Yeah, actually, and Punk was saying that Princess Anne, Charles's sister, was a lot like her father, personality-wise.
She's actually a knight of the round table,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, when she was going to be made a lady at the round table, she's like, no, I want to be a knight. What the fuck you mean? I ain't going to be second guest to fucking Charles. I want to be a knight.
Yeah.
She even tried to push that she should be crowned queen first before Charles. Opportunistic little cow she is. I'd be careful of her.
There's that Edward, too. I think he has another brother besides Andrew, Edward.
If the British people want anyone to be king, it's probably Will. I think Charles knows that. I think Charles is just going to focus on trying to train Will to be king. At the end of the day, Charles is not a man of action. He could have killed his mom time ago if he wanted to.
True.
Instead, he just did all of her jobs anyway and became quite well trained in those jobs. And now it's not hard for him to make a face for himself, surprise people's expectations.
Yeah.
People are expecting him to cause the collapse of Britain's control over many dominions because he's not so well liked. So that's the first thing he needs to subvert. No, he's gonna know that better than I will.
You think to bump off Harry's wife like they did Diana?
Nah. He's happy for them to go distant. He's trying to make sure that they stay distant. Charles is quite status quo in that he's a copy and paste of the fascist philosophy that his mother attained towards. Expect of what we got from the Queen when she was directly attaining towards dividends between the 1960s and the early 2000s. That's what I'd expect from Charles. I mean, he's been going around the world and advising governments for a good 20 years now himself, 30 years. Will does a lot of that himself now. The big poll they have with the British people with how they're being hard on Harry is their whole position is like he's avoiding his responsibilities as a member of the crown, rah rah rah.
Yeah.
So like, it's them basically because they're supposed to be seen as like not a citizen, they're a ruler. Like, so they have like a distinct caste position that they have to operate towards. Once again, like, how constitutional is the monarchy when you've got like that mentality about the monarchy itself? Anyway, it's all backwards logic. It's like how you can't really constitutionalize the monarchy properly because it, by all means, you're still keeping the reprimansive and dictatorial system of a monarchy. It's always gonna go full circle in that contradiction of itself. There's no liberty in dictatorship, in the liberal sense of the word. There's no liberty in dictatorship.
Yeah.
But the see, this is where it gets confusing when you use the scientific terms because there's liberty in the dictatorship of the proletariat, but it's not the same time of dictatorship as to what I mean. There's no liberty in autocracy. That's the way to say it. There's no liberty in autocracy. Got an insanely bad headache and feel like shit, but saw the stream and came to leave a like. Oh, respect, brother. I know you feel with the fucking headache. Weather's getting a bit fucking dodgy. Ugh. Where is that little shit? Oh, fuck it. Yeah, we've passed the 1 hour mark. I guess that's a relatively short period of time for my stress.
Yeah, I think he's coming on soon.
Maybe. I mean, there's gonna be a gender neutral bathroom in London. That's what people can look forward to.
What's that?
New gender neutral bathroom in London.
Uh,
Open air piss and shit first. I mean, there's already Margaret Thatcher's grave to piss
yeah.
on. Yeah, I got Margaret Thatcher's grave. Now we got the Queen's grave. Should have buried them together. You know, they hated each other, so they should be buried together. It's what they'd love. They can fight in hell for eternity. There's like 76,000 layers of hell before you get to where people like the Queen is put. She got like billions of years of torment before they'll let her out of hell. She got a test for her sins. She gonna be burning for thousands of years. Fucking hell. She's like Queen Victoria, but not fat, but kind of fat, but not fat, because Queen Victoria was like Tubzilla, uh, the biggest Queen of England. I mean, like, if people thought the Queen Elizabeth I liked sweets, the sweet culture of modern day capitalism, when it comes to like treats and sweets, that
What?
comes from Victorianism.
Uh,
So like this over focus on these specific types of like chocolate treats and sugary sweet delights, that comes from the Victorian Empire's over focus on sweet delights and all that, and stuff we robbed from other people to make those ideas up, like chocolate from the Native Americans, and we took fucking Turkish delights from the Turks and all sorts of stuff like that. We took a lot of stuff from the Asian region when it came to a lot of our delights and treats and stuff like that. And they come up with some danking ideas, you know, sponge cake, this is the poor people being smart about their things. There's a big problem with your bread going stale. Well, there was like a recipe in the Victorian times where you could take stale bread, crush it into powder, use it as flour to make a sponge cake, and it would make an honest to god sponge cake with your stale bread. I mean, it's probably not the most fortuitous of fucking sponge cakes to eat, but nonetheless, you fucking get yourself a nice good sponge out of your fucking what is otherwise useless bread. Gives it fucking 10 out of 10 for me. My nose is blocked up. Fuck.
same. The same.
It's the common cold because I've passed out in like either just a shirt or just a normal hoodie with my window wide open, and so then I end up with end up waking up dead freezing cold. Um, which is not good for your health and will give you a cold like I've got. Careful because of things like pneumonia. So I'm a bit tired out because I'm running at American time, but well, this stream is running via American time, and I have been up via English time. It's a bit busy today. I had to go to the
Yeah,
old Aldi.
yeah. I'm
That wasn't
trying,
audible.
I'm trying to get ready Finny and Punk on.
It's unfortunate that there's not an internet way to beat people with a stick. Do you have a beating stick that's the 300 and some thousand miles it needs to be for you to whack him across the specific ocean? The Atlantic Ocean. That's a specific ocean. Not to be confused with the Pacific Ocean. This is just a specific one. There you go. My fuck up can mean something good. I'll weave my way out of this one. But slap him across the seas. The old cane. Remind him of the old school practices.
Text him, message him. Got to live stream here in about 10, 15 minutes. I just let him know I need him to take over for me.
No, I feel ya. Pretty fucked up what China's doing to Uganda right now.
Yeah. Yeah, so I sent in the group.
Yeah, yeah. Port seizure. Well, airport in this case. It's not even $1 billion loan that they're getting all antsy over as well. It's in, was it 700 million? Which is fuck all in the case of country loans. Like, it's quite a small loan. But even small loans don't give you easy dividends. Like, it has done for countries in the past. No, they're still easy up for bait, easy up for take. World Bank and IMF work exactly the same. They work in the exact same fashion. Imperialism has massively advanced its finance capital dominative tools. But not a lot of people want to analyze these things and understand how these things have evolved and developed. They just want to think that, like, Lenin in 1917 has all the answers. And it's like, no, he just starts us on the right path to the answers. He has answered a hell of a lot, but there's more to be answered. There's more to be understood. There's always more to be understood. I mean, that's basically the philosophy of Marxism. There's always more to know.
Give me Gatorade, please. Coming on soon, yeah. Wow. For that of me. Thank you. This guy Gatorade. I love Gatorade.
No good stuff. You're late.
There he is.
Gonna fine you 50 Australian pounds. I don't think you can hear us. If you can hear us, we can't hear you. You may need to leave and rejoin. Discord can be like that.
No. Hear us?
Hello, puppet.
There he is.
Can you hear us now?
Maybe.
Maybe. That means yes.
Possibly.
I'm still in the middle of stuff here, so I'm up and down. So everything's just again something comes up in the middle of my night and it fucks everything. So I that's what happened last night, and it's slightly less bad.
I mean, what's it like? I wasn't expecting things to be this late, but I just heard our fucking Lumpen-Maoist at like 10 o'clock at night that he was ready, and I'm like, okay, I've missed every other chance to get him on to talk about the monarchist stuff, so I'll go for it now. I don't need more anxiety.
Yeah. Anyway.
Otherwise, I'd have told him to go fuck off. Like, it's 10 o'clock.
No worries. I'm just yeah. I've had visitors all day, and I've had like it's a bit of a mad.
I've been all over the place today myself. Like, what's it? I had to go Aldi early in the morning, and then I passed out.
It was I'm surviving on like 2 hours sleep. Last night was just chaos, crazy. So
I really struggled to get sleep in the night because of these fucking sandflies and shit. Like, they're more active at night.
they're evil bastards. Yes, I think.
I mean, a fly that likes to bite and is 1 millimeter big and prefers soft tissue is just a recipe for bad news.
It's evil.
They can get through the membranes of your socks. So, like, you know,
It's even
when
worse.
I'm lying down, I can just feel them crawling up my legs sometimes because I'll just go for my socks.
Jesus, man, that's fucking evil. 1 moment, I've just got something burning here. Hang on.
Alright, we're gonna charge a £1 toll for every second. We'll be like the Thatcher government, so we tax everything. We'll tax your windows, your doors, your beds. It's the Thatcher program. Bedroom tax wasn't enough. Now it's bed tax. You don't have someone in a bed at any time for 3 days a week. You don't have to pay bed tax. I mean, she got kicked out because she tried to make people pay tax to toll. I mean, poll to vote, a voting tax. It's like, what the fuck are you doing, you dickhead? Like, half the country doesn't even want to vote. Like, it's not gonna go down very well. Well, go pay a tax for people I don't even want to elect. What is this?
Are you implying that we don't live in a democracy?
Well, apparently it's one of those democratic monarchies, but the monarchy isn't democratic, so it's like the government is democratic, kind of, maybe.
Complete contradiction in terms.
And then it does first past the post, so government isn't completely democratic because you can't really vote third party. I mean, like, UKIP in all its time got like 5 seats in the government.
Yeah. Right. Still a bit up in the air at the minute. Can you hang on? Can I just disappear for a couple of minutes, or are you hanging about? What's going on? Or I have to just vanish for about 5, or shut my camera off or something for a couple of minutes. I'm a bit, yeah. I'll do that for them. Hang on.
Yeah, no stress.
Still hear me though?
Maybe.
I can hear you. You can hear me. And you can maybe hear me, and maybe I can hear you too. 2 seconds. Like I say, I'm up and down here at the minute, and everything's a bit manic. So bear with me.
Up and the down. I'm fucking tired and unbaked, so I don't know what to say. In French, the French invented the guillotine for good reason. That's my statement on the monarchy. Charles I learnt that the hard way. So did Cromwell. It's too bad it's not in the daytime. I could have blasted some IRA tunes.
Now?
Is your mic not working?
Yeah. No, I was asking you, was England a republic under Cromwell?
Yeah. Not a very democratic republic, but a republic nonetheless.
Yeah, it was kind of the beginnings. It was the Roundheads were. Can you still hear me? Okay, yeah.
Loud and clear.
Absolutely wonderful. Yeah, it was kind of like the first English Republic, and it was for the standards of the day, like 17th century beginnings of capitalism. It was, I suppose, relatively progressive. It's just that well, Cromwell and the Irish. Well, yeah.
I mean, there was more intentions to have a more democratic republic put in place, but Cromwell was quite like Bonaparte, and so he took over in a very fascist way. And that's why the liberals are so willing to side with the monarchy towards the end of Cromwell's rule.
I mean, they were a Puritan. Well, they were the original, the OG Puritans. They were very, very conservative, very rigid, mechanical in their mindset. So, I mean,
They weren't even the first people that were opposed by Cromwell, so those people stayed in line with Cromwell in the initial period. In 1649, a year after Cromwell had became leader of the Republic and had made the English Republic, the dispossessed, peasants and serfs, and the new developing British working class, the proletariat, all organized together and was like, yo, we don't want a system with a state and these capitalists owning private land. Land is not to be owned for private gain. It should not be bought and sold. They were massacred by Cromwell and his men and scattered.
you're talking about the Levellers and the Diggers and people like that. I mean, Gerard Winstanley, and he was the Diggers leader.
Well, yeah, the Diggers live for gold and the Levellers live for Merle. Yeah.
But yeah, my knowledge of it's a little bit sketchy, but I do remember they were the.
If I remember rightly, Diggers were the traitors and the Levellers were the ones that were like, yo, let's stop this shit. We ain't doing this shit.
I'm not sure that's me. I'm not too sure about that. I mean, I know the Diggers were. I mean, Gerard Winstanley, very devout Christian, but a slaker of organised religion and all that. But I don't know much about him or the Diggers or what happened to them or the Levellers for that matter. I think the Levellers were more militant, so yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah, I might be getting it confused. I'm just having to sort of rethink when I know about it a bit. But it's history that's forgotten about. Lost history as a lot of the folk songs call it. I mean, you also have the Limerick Soviet that happened in 1919 in Britain.
Oh yeah, it's all kind of airbrushed from history. It's like is it what's the one in the States where the redneck, the term redneck was used in a positive light?
Yeah, the redneck is a communist term. What people typically call redneck is actually a hick.
Yeah.
For what?
Not all hicks are rednecks. That's why I always tell people I get pissy when people call hicks rednecks blindly, and it's like, are they a communist? Well, they're not a redneck then.
Yeah, exactly.
A real redneck is a communist.
So it became a kind of slur like Fenian. You know, you're fucking Fenian.
Oh man, fucking Fenians, aren't they racist? Like if you think Anglo-Saxons are an oppressed group, but you're treading on fucking dangerous waters, speaking to Irish people and thinking you can make that kind of argument to them.
Yeah, you missed it. You missed out.
It's like cheering "God Save the fucking King" or the Queen to a fucking to the Irish or the Welsh or the Scottish or even up in North England, you go to fucking Liverpool or fucking or Yorkshire or going to York or fucking what's it up in Manchester City. You go and say "God Save the Queen" and King to people. Most people are gonna be like, "What the fuck are you saying? Like, get the fuck out of here! That bitch ain't got no meaning up here." Ain't the word in the street. I mean, maybe the middle class are a little mourning towards those ends.
Yeah.
There's middle class people in fucking Northern Ireland that like the fucking monarchy. Unfortunately, it happens.
They're not just Protestant ones, some of them are Catholic too, and that's even more cringeworthy, you know?
I was expecting, how's all the Kim Jong-un gave his wishes to the monarchy, when that was cringe. But out of all of it, like I was expecting Jerry Adams to go and step up to the cringe and go and pay his duest respect to the monarchy or the lost the thing. It's like, are you gonna want to kill these people? But I don't think Jerry Adams actually did that. I'm not sure. I'm happy to be proven wrong. But I know that Kim Jong Un did it. There were like loads of other things did it. It's like paying respect to the monarchy. It's like America. America. The one thing you could say that was somewhat quote unquote revolutionary about America was that they freed themselves from monarchy. Okay, well, why ain't they the ones cheering off the rooftops that another monarch is dead? They should be loving it, partying. They should have took the same day off that we took for the funeral, just to have a piss party where they dig a hole in the fucking ground, they stick a fucking fake Elizabeth head in it, and they fill it with piss by the end of the day.
That's what I would have done, but you know.
Where's my invite?
Yeah, I mean, talking on social media about, you know, Britain's just like a, you know, as a concept needs to die, like the United States needs to become Turtle Island. I've had like First Nation people. I said, how about a new slogan instead of MAGA? This MAGA communism. Don't get onto that in a bit. But how about Matia, Make America Turtle Island again? How about that's a nice change than MAGA? We should do the same with Britain. It's like if you're going to call, I mean, England's kind of had a similar tarnish as well to it. So you know, you could say North and South England or Mercia, Northumbria. You know what I mean? You could debate on that's another thing, but certainly this whole thing of Great Britain and the United fucking Kingdom. I mean, Jesus, that's feudal. It's imperialist as well. So I mean, it's a no-brainer. Why would you want to be a British patriotic socialist or it's just insanity. I was just watching a stream of a bunch of Pat Socks last night, and I was thinking one of them I'm okay. I'm actually quite friendly with him. The others, one of them, two of them used to be on my friends list, and both of them, one of them I got rid of because he was being a swerfy little prick. A Scottish gentleman, you know who I mean.
Aye.
18 years of age, 19, but looks like he's closer to my age. And the other one is an American guy who's like an old hippie who's now gone really sort of conservative. Still got the long hair and the beard, but he's gone all totally conservative. And he's all talking about wholesome things and all that. And I thought, this is the state of the left.
Yeah, I mean that's the way those types of people go. Like that all they got to show for themselves is their first worldist colors, where they're more focused on protecting empire than they are on actually pushing revolution. And then
exactly.
When you actually catch them on their bullshit, they'll turn around and be like, "Oh no, it's not gonna happen anytime soon." So they'll push their own interests.
Well, it's like they automatically deviate away from it. Sorry if I'm talking over people here.
No, sorry.
Deviate
I'll get a
away from it.
lifeline.
Say,
Finally, it's good. I got it today, so now get out of here.
you gotta go.
Not yet. Soon though.
Okay, no worries. I'm glad I came when I did. But they're all talking about like
Yeah, I gotta
We
go
don't-
soon. Not yet.
Excuse me. Yeah, and they're saying about like, we don't want people to use drugs because we want a sober military, and we don't want this, and we don't want.
Basket.
Again?
Not talking about shelter people.
All right, no worries. You know, all this kind of thing. It's like it's just Puritanism again. It's the same old shit. Half of them when you scratch the surface are fucking monarchists anyway. So you know, or maybe they're roundheads. I don't know where they stand on that, but you know.
That's true.
I mean, the Pat
Need
Sox were defending Cromwell as like a progressive. It's like
I've heard there was a discussion on like BBC back in like 2005 maybe. It was who's the greatest Briton of all? The one who won it was fucking Churchill of all people. Well, what shows up?
what surprised more propaganda about that guy because they don't want you to look into how much of a lunatic he was in the 50s.
Isn't that funny? Yeah. There was a bloke there from I think the Communist Party of one of the Communist parties of Britain or Great Britain or
Oh
I don't
no!
know which it was, but they were saying this guy was
All of them are bad, so it's like take a pick.
terrible. thought you are. I mean, there was some writer there saying, okay, she was Anglo-Irish, she was like myself, second generation Irish, saying like, oh yes, he got rid of the monarchy and all that, but when it comes to Ireland, the bastard was the fucking Antichrist. But this guy was saying, oh no, he was a progressive and he was trying to set up a parliamentary democracy. I'm thinking, you're a communist and you're supporting Cromwell. I mean,
What the fuck?
Hitler got rid of. I mean, the Nazis wanted. A lot of the Nazis wanted a republic of Germany, not the. They didn't
No,
want
but
the Kaiser.
even
They were
even if
progressive.
he was pushing for parliamentary democracy, where's the right of self-determination in that narrative?
There was no. Oh, you don't talk about that.
Because I mean, like, you can turn around and state that okay, the English Revolution itself was a progressive revolution. It was a capitalist republican revolution against feudalist monarchy. But as soon as it goes into an invasion of the Irish, that's not progressive. Cromwell's war against the Irish wasn't progressive, and Cromwell wasn't the reason why the revolution happened. He's a guy who was at the poignance of cutting someone's head off and became the leader of the country by de facto and made himself a monarch. He's not the guy who led the revolution.
You know what I get? Well, the answer you probably get is what I got when I mentioned it to Labour Party supporters. You know, they said, "Oh, you had to bring up Ireland again, didn't you? You had to bring that up, didn't you?" I'm like, I'm so fucking sorry.
why won't you just let us forget this? I had that basically given to me when I was I was listening to my cassette player on my ears and I was walking to the shop. I was going to Aldi's, and I bumped into this medic from the Troubles, this English medic, and like I had like a somewhat amicable conversation with him at first because I was singing the songs I was listening to. I was listening to IRA songs, and he noticed I was singing to a common Irish song. And so he stopped me and said hello and everything. And he called me a liberal several times, even though I mentioned that I support the INLA and that I'm a Maoist and that I'm a communist. And he kept calling me a liberal. And like when he was going on about like the war and all that, like he was speaking really generalistically and avoiding stuff. And I was like, oh yeah, well you know about some of the terrible shit that British were doing to people. And he's like, it's just as bad on both sides. And when I'm like mentioning the fact of like the Irish are colonized and they're fighting for their freedom, so we have to bring that up. That's been and gone. And when I bring up like the 1916 Republic and that's what they want and they want their freedom, it's like, what does that have anything to do with it? That's all the way back then. That's not when this is, and we're now, and we're not there, and this is like liberal, forgetful shit. And it's like he's calling.
History is relevant when it suits them, but it's irrelevant when it doesn't. It's very cherry picked.
It's like even when I was like walking off after we had basically come to a point where we were not having any amicable conversation. He called me a liberal again, and I'm like, what the fuck are you calling a liberal, you fascist fuck? I told you once, I'll tell you again, I'm a communist.
Kind of like it's like these right-wing Republicans in the United States who say, liberal, you don't know what the fucking word means. Don't use big words when you don't know what they mean. You know what I mean?
I mean, what's it? I actually somewhat feel sorry for first world fascists in America because like they're having to appeal to. They can't get away from it. Have you seen them try and get away from it? Ted Cruz tried to get away from the Trump thing at the start of it, and it didn't go down well. And Ted Cruz is one of the Tea Party fascist politicians. And you've got like Ron DeSantis or what's it? One of my favorite mispronunciations from I'm not trying to be mean on Doc's not with this either. Like I actually find his pronunciation of it fun. He says Rand DeSantis, and like it's authentically American. Like this is no take the piss. Like I actually find it like. I find it a bit more jazzy than just Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis is a more American feel to it. It sounds like something you'd hear on the telly.
I might have heard Daxonovia say that actually now you mention it. I don't know.
Daxonovia, what's it? I'm no better myself. I'm terrible with pronunciations. He struggles with a lot of stuff himself. So that's what I mean. I'm not trying to take the piss. I actually just find the mispronunciation quite interesting, and I don't want to be like harsh when I'm bringing it up, but it's funny stuff. So basically, like Gillis is like fucking a case of AIDS. That's what Gillis is like.
Aye. I can confirm the lack of snideness in your tone of voice there is quite evident, so I really wouldn't worry about that. I'm a
My tone of
nitpicker.
voice is the same all the time. People don't know whether I'm joking or being serious. So I'm like, I have to over clarify the fuck. I'm like, okay, guys, this time it is the funny. Don't lose yourself. I may say obscene things sometimes, but then when I need to tell someone something seriously, I was telling don't take me seriously. I'm always in a boy that cries wolf situation just because I have a very dry delivery, and I know I have a dry delivery, so I poise my humor around it. But when I specifically poise my humor around that dry nature, it goes over people's heads. It just goes straight over, and I'm like, wow, put all this effort in.
That's a common problem with being neurodiverse, of course, particularly autistic.
We break the fourth wall, even though there's not a fourth wall to be broken. I don't know if you're like that. I commentate on the things I'm doing a bit too much. Bored to be a Twitch streamer. I don't have a Twitch account. Actually, no, I do because I got it to laugh at Haz at one point. But like, otherwise, I don't Twitch. I don't know how to do that.
I mean, it's to use Twitch and stream, but I'm thinking, what am I going to stream on? What am I going to say? Because a lot of them just seem to be talking about they're just gaming online, and it's like I don't want to watch some fucking dork playing games.
I always thought twitching was a side effect of being horny, but you know, it's just.
Hail Mary's no father.
A twitch and a shiver gone by. That's the way the old saying goes. Twitch and a shiver gone by.
I have a mind like a potty, and I am quite proud of that. I get called degenerate by the Pat Socks, and I can live with that.
I get called a degenerate by everyone, but then again, like I you know, that comes with being disabled.
Oh yeah.
I mean, what's it? You got. I mean, transhumanists really don't like autism. Like, it's something I've noticed. Transhumanists, like with all their like, we want to engineer the gene code. They want to cure autism, and it's like, oh my god, we've been for this. Like, it's just neurological development. Like, neurological divergence has to happen if we're gonna have neurological evolutionary development. That's not us being up our own clout. That's just how the body works. We didn't choose to be fucking retarded in a way that is actually beneficial if we're not abused. Seriously, look at any autistic case. If we're not abused, or if we don't have preliminary conditions that limit our health and ability to function that would fuck up a neurotypical anyway, we succeed better than fucking neurotypicals. Get fucked. Like, that's just that's the unarguable stats. So suck your mom. That's my response to neurotypicals.
My favourite little slur there.
I love the suck your mom. It's the best way to completely confuse people in an argument. So, what do you mean suck my mom? Oh, that sucks, man. Well, what's it? Have a good night at the fucking night shelter. Remember not to pray to Jesus. He doesn't deserve your prayers.
I gotta leave.
That's what I was
the
saying.
shelter.
I was saying no
That's the shelter.
stress. Have a good
Yeah.
night at the night shelter, and don't pray to Jesus. He doesn't deserve you. He doesn't deserve your prayers. Remember not to pray.
Care yourself, bro.
No, have a good night's rest. Make grace. Have a good rest. Can't English. Have a good night rest. Red salute, and I'll catch you tomorrow morning when you give us I can't English when you give me a ring.
I will. All right. Good night. Good night, Referee and Punk.
Care.
Red salute, love it, go.
Salute, comrades.
Have a good night's sleep.
Sugar Joe.
Oh, I need to adjust the height of the camera things. There we go. Now it's our fucking operation. Like, so.
Or Evil Cabal.
What will be next on our evil liberal agenda, my lord? Make the mermaid black.
Oh, that was fucking hilarious. That was comedy gold.
It's the fact that like they'll make like Arab characters white all the time,
Yeah.
and then like one fucking she's not even European. She's a fish person, and being black would be more beneficial anyway, because if you're out in the deep blue ocean where there's a lot of sunlight, dark skin would be better to keep you protected from the sun. So it's just an advantage anyway to have darker skin. I don't know if people know this, but if you live in an area where it is advantageous to have dark skin for like 3 or 4 generations, I think it's longer than that, but eventually your family members will start to develop dark skin. It's not this like drastic like difference between us that make us different people. It's like something that just happens.
Oh, no, don't just white genocide. Yeah, no, you're right. It's fucking bullshit.
The reason why it's less likely for black people to turn white in our regions is because it's not really a disadvantage to be black in a white people region like it is to be disadvantageous to be white in a black people region. Like they just got better advantages than us because fucking what's it in that regard? It's really a small thing. It's just about sunlight protection really because of the red blood of our skin. But it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter in regards to dealing with the cold. Like our skin isn't as highly developed for resisting cold as people like to think. It's just if you have darker skin, less sun can pass through you. That is all it is. Menelin doesn't make you use less brain power or something. Like that's a stupid idea. Like I hope people understand we didn't just go and mix with the fucking Neanderthals and then stay over there. We actually went back to Africa, went through like 3 or 4 different extinction events, and eventually became Homo sapien sapien, which is the next stage off from Homo sapien. And that's why, like, if you actually look at Africa, Africa has like everything that we are. Like, it's the home place of human genetics.
Yeah. Excuse me, 2 seconds. I'm still in the background.
Yeah, those guys. But therefore, the people of Africa are like they. So one thing I'm trying to get at, so there's this funny thing with racism where like they try and poise that black people are behind everyone, when realistically black people are like they. So it's something that was scientifically discovered that like any peculiar traits that you could find to people in a specific area, the people of Africa and Central Asia, basically they got it all, like. Because humanity is constantly flexed in and out from Africa, and Africa is like the center point of where we come from. I don't know whether I'm getting into wrong ideas. Like I got this from my European education, so take a lot of. Have you get your salt ready, and you're just gonna drink a lot of this while I'm speaking right now, okay? Don't stop drinking until I finish. So. You know, like, we've been incredibly racist towards the region that is our birthplace, our home place, and is therefore held the most developed societies in history. And it has, think about it this with capitalism. Capitalist societies have been decadent in their mannerisms towards civil society, in some of the worst mannerisms possible, because it presents a civil society, it does, but that civil society is only accessible to those who have been aristocratized within the imperial system. This is more starkly seen in the third world, but in the lumpen proletariat, it's pretty plain and obvious to us. We can see that shit plain as days. Civil society doesn't even want us about. We're seen as a stain on the civil society.
I'm not a stain. I'm just a beautiful mark, a delightful splodge.
I'm liking the starry plough.
The starry plough t-shirt. It's me. One of my prize possessions.
It's the traditional starry plough as well. The blue starry plough.
Blue one.
It's the traditional one. That is.
Well, the original one was the green one.
Was it? I swear there was one before it that was blue.
It might be right.
Because Connolly based it off of a movement in the 1800s, the 1870s. They used the starry plough.
You might be right, actually. But again, my knowledge is too sketchy to really know.
Because they had like the because I swear it was like the green flag where it's a starry plough with the sword as the shape for the plough with the hand with the sword, and then it was the blue flag with the stars for the plough, and then it was the the tricolours.
The tricolour came.
Because I swear they hugged 3 flags when they succeeded over it. It was the green flag, the tricolours, and the blue flag.
Yeah. 2 seconds. I'm just busy doing shit here. Hang on.
No stress. But yeah, no, what's it? But when you look at civilization, it's Africa, it's Central Asia. That's where civilization kicked its gears off. In our historical understanding of things. I mean, there's probably more to be known, but it's all going to come from there. And when we look at some of the biggest developments in history, it's all been based off of the back of these oppressed and colonized peoples constantly. If it wasn't for the systems of oppression that we'd developed, those regions would have outpaced us massively. They did for most of history. Most of history, Africa and Asia were a million times more powerful than Europe. So, like, the white perspective of history, where we place ourselves on top of everything, is as diluted as can be. It's not this end of an era where we've been on top of everything forever. That's a mentality that they like to purvey onto you, but it's only really been the last a millennia that Europe has been really showing its face of well, actually it's been longer than a millennia, but it's been the last millennia when Europe has really been more powerful than the regions of Asia and Africa, and it's actually been able to dominate like that. I mean, even during the era of the Roman Empire, when it was dominating, it was terrified of the Chinese Empire.
Oh yeah.
And they got their asses kicked in Russia.
Is this again? Sorry, the
Roman Empire.
The Romans, yeah.
Got their asses kicked in Russia when they tried to fight the Russians.
I mean, this thing about the whole white thing is an invention anyway, just to buy people off. It's like the middle class and they call the working class when they mean.
They tried to make an aristocracy out of slavery. I mean, like an indentured servant was a term that was not typically used for a house slave, but then they brought in servant, which is typically an aristocrat thing. It's a well-paid job where you get a free house and everything, and get your all your food and dividends covered. Being a paid servant is actually quite a lofty job. Well, they give them this term that's very aristocratic, and they give them this sensibility where they are part of the white group. And so they go and stab the back of the chattel slave, even though before then house slaves and chattel slaves organized together.
Yeah. So even you had the house Negro and the field Negro. They were not the same thing. Well, Malcolm X brought that up. He's famous for mentioning that.
When they first introduced whiteness, this was back when a lot of the house slaves were, Irish and Scottish and people like that.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's like I think it was the New Deal. It was as recent as that. It's only like 90 years ago when the whiteness suddenly is stretched to the Irish and the Italians because they were non-white barbarian. They were not civilized peoples like the Northern Europeans, as they were saying. You know what I mean? The whiteness of the Anglo-Saxon.
It's interesting though, because the original concept of whiteness was centered around Anglo-Saxon and Irish house slaves, but when mainland England got a hold of whiteness and the American colonies, they changed it to be just about the Anglo-Saxons because they loved the sound of it. They're like, wait, this really works, this does. And it's going to make us specifically overpowering everyone else. And it then was used to create a divide within the European groups because we didn't even count the Spanish as white. We didn't see the French as white. Everyone was not white other than us because it was about purity in the sense of ethnic purity and all this bullshit. The Nazis come straight from that British understanding of race.
Yes. It shows, you can see it. There's a kind of...
I mean, their concentration camps are just an industrialized version of the British concentration camp. We used to just cram people. Like, we called them concentration camps, not because it's anything about thinking. We called them concentration camps because we used to concentrate a lot of people into a camp.
Concentration means to something is concentrated, it's pushed together into a smaller, more compact group.
Yeah. Like squashes of concentrate. I got some squash. Americans get confused when I say squash, and I'm like cordial, and it's like cordial's not even a common thing in America, and I'm like, what do you mean it's not a common thing in America?
Call it juice over there, I think, or diluted juice or something, or
I just
not sure.
It confuses me. I'm like, how do you not have cordial? It's like the easiest way to save money and have a fruity drink. Like, get yourself some cordial, man.
Sugar, I'm a type 2 diabetic. That's why I had to rush off because I had a blood sugar crash. That's why I was to go and get food and eat that before I came on. I kind of compromised a bit.
I'm fortunate to not have diabetes.
Yeah, I only found out when I was 46.
That's
Oh,
fucking massive bit of business. You just find out. I was like, oh shit. It's high sugar world we live in. Everything's so sugar or carbohydrate.
Way too much sugar. You know, and I'm not a particularly junk food person. I do eat some stuff like I do find me chocolates and me biscuits and stuff, but I'm not. I didn't like eat McDonald's all my life. You know what I mean? I was never one of those just eat Twizzlers and bloody McDonald's. It was more try to eat healthily, but even it got me as well. You know. Okay.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Respond now. Yeah, that's another indictment on the capitalist. Fuck! I look at all these horrible things. See, you've still got leftovers like the monarchy, feudalism, and you've got the nasty little poisonous things of capitalism from shitty little badly, planned obsolescence, minimalist, mass-produced crap. They brought in minimalism as a fashionable thing because they think it makes it more modern. Some modern minimalist stuff is actually quite good. Don't get me wrong, but most of it's rubbish. It's just an excuse to make things more cheaply, less engineering, and you can knock them out more quickly, and they also fall apart more quickly. So planned obsolescence, so you can sell more. It's all this. I noticed to my friend Ali, I was saying this. He was saying this to me. He said, "Did you notice since the fall of the Soviet Union?" He was a kid when it fell apart. I was about 19, 20 when it fell apart. I was 20 when the USSR collapsed. Since that fall of that, the quality of goods slowly got more and more crap. I mean, they don't have this. They don't have anything that was vaguely socialist, even though it was revisionist at that point. So let's look at it, but it was slightly socialistic. Still had a better. They had even at that point, they still had better quality goods that lasted longer. They just didn't have the flashy gloss to them that the Western stuff had. Westernized stuff had the flashy gloss, but underneath it was designed to break down and fall apart. Nowadays, I've noticed things like you'd pair people, the old punks wearing Dr. Merton's boots, they would last a lot longer 40 years ago than the ones now. Then nowadays, you buy a pair of Dr. Merton boots, they fall apart after a year. They're split through, the toes sticking out the front. It was never known in the 80s or 90s, and that's not just a nostalgia thing, because that's one thing I got no time for, is this in my day nostalgia crap. I've never had any time for that. These are simple things we've noticed, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is, of course, it's a problem with modernity. Nobody wants to go backwards to the miserable old times. That's why they like monarchy and all that. But then liberals say, because things are so bad, let's have the royalty back again because at least it was stable. It's like, no, you want to move forward, not backwards. It's the same with things like, we've become more we've become more open, socially liberal, sexually positive, less homophobic, less obsessed with the nuclear family and all that. And people say, "Oh, this is a break."
A bit gay.
Aye, it's terrible. We're all it's it's the fairy liquid. You see, the US won't know about this.
Fairy liquid.
But that's the thing. So because they've replaced it with a kind of a vacuum. Kind of postmodernist vacuum. People think, oh God, maybe it's better that we went back to that. This is where padlocks are coming in. This is where I'm seeing people like William Morrison and Caleb Maupin and fucking Yankee Tanky blocked me on Facebook the other day. Fuck off.
He hasn't blocked me yet. I was speaking with him, because he messaged asking for money again. I was like, yo, people have been saying nasty shit about you when you've been doing this. You should be careful you message. I had a conversation with him, and it basically stopped as soon as they turned around and was like, yeah, the petty bourgeoisie and the labour aristocracy should have no power in the Communist Party, and that it should be directed by the proletariat and the. I knew lumpen proletariat wouldn't wash with him, so I said the disenfranchised proletariat. But that was lumpen enough to get me not blocked but ignored, and it was trying to turn around and was going it doesn't change anything that the Queen's dead, so people shouldn't be celebrating all that. So I'm like, well, at the end of the day, people should be. At the end of A, to push monarchism, because that's important. To push anti-monarchism, because that's important. But B, a dictator died. It doesn't matter if the dictatorship has ended or not. You've got to cheer at the point a dictator dies.
If that was, if that was Kim Jong Un that had died, they would be jumping around going, "Ha ha!" An evil despot, because they all believe what the BBC, CNN, Channel 4 News, MSNBC, the Daily Telegraph, the New York Times, the Guardian, the Independent, and all these rags say about DPRK. I have criticisms of the DPRK plenty. Not what knowledge I have of the place, which is not none of us really know that much about it. But let's just say it's not the. If you really believe it's a monstrous dystopian hellhole, then I think you really need to fucking start to learn to think critically, shall we say. No country is as dystopian as that. Not even Nazi Germany was that dystopian. It's just not real. No one can live like that. Even in fucking Nazi Germany, it wasn't that dystopian. So for fuck's sake, get a hold of yourselves. And Park Yun-mi has just come out saying, the crying girl has just come out recently saying, the white lives matter, so you know what you're dealing with her. So fuck off. But if that was Kim Jong-un, well, even if you don't like the guy, they'd be going, "Ah!" But if you dare to say anything about Lizzie, as I did, I've had people even in Newcastle, of all places, the northeast, saying, "You're being mean about that's terrible. How can you be like that?" It's an old woman. I said, "Tell you what, I'm fucking pissed off about, mate. It's not about. I don't really care too much. Well, it's not even a human being, really. I mean, it's not the point being
lizard people."
Oh, don't. People might think you mean that. Seriously. Oh, God, no. You have to be careful about
I've
joking
opened
about
the door now. I'm going to get the fucking, QAnon people subscribing to my channel.
Get me tinfoil hat out next. But
I've had, Pat Socks follow me after I've made, a tweet on an issue before, and it's like, you're not going to enjoy following me. You're probably going to block me in a week.
I kept thinking Yankee Tanky's not going to stay on my friends list for long, because he's been posting stuff on Facebook saying, "Can't believe people are calling Dugan a fascist." I nearly commented, said,
"Can't believe people are calling Dugan a fascist." It's like, what do you mean you can't? He literally called himself a fascist in the fourth political theory.
Looks like a fascist. He talks like a fascist. I didn't know he actually did call himself one.
Yeah, he says the fourth political theory. So he says that the fourth position is just a modified third position.
Oh, aye. Yeah. No, I've heard. I remember something about that, but I get so much information overload it turns into white noise. But he said all this shit, and he's but no, he's not a fascist. It's like, I mean, what? Who else isn't a fascist? The EDL aren't fascist. The infidels aren't fascist. Pegida aren't fascist. Black shirts weren't fascist because they were slightly different from the Nazis. Sake, man.
I mean, what?
People
will be openly calling themselves fascists, and these people would be jumping to be like, "No, you don't get it, you don't understand."
Yeah.
It's like Marjorie Taylor Greene. Marjorie Taylor Greene was a part of an orchestrated coup in America, and people aren't thinking like, okay, so, how is this person not a fascist? How are there people calling themselves communists telling you that you got to support Marjorie Taylor Greene? Marjorie Taylor Greene's this American Georgian politician. For some unknown reason, why was allowed to run again into office after trying to coup the American government, and it's like she didn't know that trying to illegally stop a vote from being counted is unlawful against the Constitution. It quite much is. You'd think as a stateswoman she'd know her fucking job. Then again, it's America, and not knowing the job is part of the job. Ask Nancy Pelosi. Nancy smokes crack in her office, Pelosi.
Yeah.
She's not a cokehead like a lot of them. She's just not like crackhead. I mean, people are going to remember crack actually comes from the American rich. So so during the British Empire's rule, and this carried over, the ruling class couldn't get enough cocaine import and failed to grow cocaine in the region time after time. So they were like, okay, how do we make our cocaine last longer? So they took baking powder. Or is it baking soda? I think it's baking soda. So baking soda or baking powder, and they mixed it in with the cocaine. Soda. And they made crack. And that's where crack comes from. Crack comes from the American ruling class wanting to get more out of the cocaine. And there's a lot of American ruling class people today that are addicted to cocaine because they're the cocaine baby. Addicted to crack because they're the crack baby of a crack baby of a crack baby.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to pervade something that's been horribly because I know there's a lot of fucking horrible myths that are pushed onto the African community in America. I'm not trying to push that sort of stuff. I'm just trying to push the pointation of what happens with people who smoke crack when they're pregnant, because that does cause a lot of problems. It's not a stressor I'm trying to push that way. I just gotta be careful with that, because a lot of white Americans push a lot of racism regarding the whole history of crack cocaine in
See,
America.
well, you
When it
should have
was a
worn
complete it was completely fabricated warfare against African people by white people, pushing crack cocaine into their neighborhoods and destroying families and livelihoods for time.
Yeah.
But it's just sort of a funny pointation that, like, the white people first did this to themselves before they realized, wait, this is a good way to fuck people over. And that's the type of twisted people they are. They're not like, oh, how much my life's been ruined by my parents and my parents' parents, my parents' parents' decisions to be raving drug addicts, oppressive megalomaniacs. They go, no, no, no. This is a good idea. How do I do this to other people? How do I take this harm of my family and make that a harm of generations of people to this day?
Yeah, it's a kind of a sign of a like narcissistic, psychopathic personality. I would have said. I'm not an expert on psychology, but studied bits and pieces of it.
It is narcissism at a poignance of psychopathy, where one has become, or sociopathy would be the more correct term. One has become so megalomaniac, one has become such a megalomaniac that they operate on a basis of, how does this make me gain? What can I further push to personally put myself on top? I mean, individual interest being the driving force of someone's livelihood entirely, that they only focus on that singular individual interest and do not divulge their interests for others, do not conglomerate around conscious interests. Those people will always be devoid of any sense of humanity and life. Like, no one can fully commit themselves to individualist interests without driving themselves into the insanity of the petty bourgeoisie and the bourgeoisie, wherein which they sell their souls to the devil. That's how much they will sell. They'll sell everything, including their own soul.
Yeah. Anyway, I was going to say something else then, but
sorry.
Point now. Yeah. Oh, yeah. The thing about like the cult of personality around monarchy. It's amazing how it's weird how they say, they will tell you. They will say without irony that back to the lizard thing and Liz the lizard. They will tell you that, don't go to Russia, don't go to Iran. They're all brainwashed minions of the leader, and they're all, Russia, China, I mean, whatever you think of Russia. I mean, I'm no fan of the Russian government. Anyway,
I know Russian people that ain't fans of it either.
Oh yeah, funny that, isn't it? But they will believe that we are so free thinking and progressive and secular and all this thing, and they believe that the people of Russia, China, the DPRK, or Iran, to name the the big villains that they all demonize,
the troika of tyranny.
They're all a hive mind, and it's talk about racist as fuck or what, but it's actually catching. People are really believing this shit, and I'm thinking. You've seen the queues to see this fucking inbred bloody, who isn't even English anyway. She's German, for fuck's sake. Zaxa Coburg Gotha. What kind of an English name is that? You can call it Windsor, which, by the way, is not an English name. It's a Cymraeg name, so fuck off. They can change their name, but they can change their spots, but they're still the same fucking leopard. You know what I mean? It doesn't change anything.
Fucking.
Yet they're saying, oh, you can't say that. I thought if that was Xi Jinping, if that was Putin, they'd be cheering. They'd be laughing. I can't stand Putin myself, don't get me wrong, but they'd be cheering if that was Vladimir Putin had died. Or Kim Jong-un, or Xi Jinping, or any of them. Oh, yay! We got rid of a dictator. Oh, don't you dare say that about a queen. She's 96. How dare you? Fuck off. Fuck off. You don't they're completely blissfully unaware of the irony of that. I find myself, I don't know whether to just laugh at it or just shout in rage and frustration, because they cannot see it. The fog of...
It's like I was talking about it the other day when I was walking around the town. It's like all these fucking all these countries that we push that they have the core personality and all that, and it's like the way that we treat our monarchy is
Yeah.
fucked. There's a shrine with a big 70 in the center of it for the Queen's
Yeah.
fucking 70-year jubilee.
Yeah.
They built a shrine in my town to the Queen.
Oh,
Not the
that's
first one they've built either. And like
that's why I got
everywhere
out
there's these big posters and pictures, and everywhere I've gone and I've seen a picture of the Queen, I've stuck my middle finger up. I have a picture of one of them on my phone. At the library, I did it, but everywhere
Why I
I've gone,
moved
giving the Queen the finger.
I find there's less lackey royalists in the northeast than there is in the Midlands. That has to be said. The further south you go, the more.
Yeah, I mean, where I am in the fucking northwest is a bit monarchistic,
Really.
unfortunately.
We've got areas like like parts of Cheshire and all around that area. They're quite. They're still quite. There's a lot of it's like the Tory part because Lancashire's
Well,
a bit
Cheshire
too.
is quite posh.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. And that's why the Whittle they didn't want to be called Scousers, so they wanted to call themselves Cheshire people. the ones who the socially claiming ones.
Scousers don't like to call them Scousers either because they're not really Scout. Like a lot of those Cheshire lot, like they ain't got the accent, ain't got anything. Like they're these weird like fucking. They're these weird like Anglo-Saxons that basically like loom in as almost like an aristocratic element to a lot of Liverpool. Like I remember one of my geezer I used to fucking engage with was showing me about Liverpool, and we ended up in an engagement with this manager geezer, and he was like, he's a Liverpudlian, but he's not a Scouser, is what I was explaining to me.
Yeah.
And it's like, he's one of them posh, tough dickheads like the Cheshire lot, where they're Liverpudlians, although they wouldn't like to admit it, but they're not Scousers.
Yeah, Scousers are.
Scousers are Celtic.
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't find a Scouser that doesn't have fucking at least Cymric blood, and if not Irish blood.
Yeah.
And they're all got Cumbrian blood. They all come from the Cumbrian region of Britain.
Yeah, Cumbria comes from Cumbria, I believe, the Cumbric people. That's where the name Cumbria comes from. And the Scousers, I didn't realise I was talking to some newfound friends of mine on Facebook. A little shout out to them who come from Liverpool. So yeah, it's something like 80% of Liverpool. It's still got like Irish roots. I thought 80%. I didn't know it was that high. I knew it was something like I would have thought 50 maybe, but it's more like 80%. That's why you get Scouse racists are the lowest of the fucking low. If you're a Scouse racist, you're a cockroach, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, it's like my great-great-grandfather on my Scouser side was Irish.
Yeah.
I don't know how far back you gotta go to get the Cumric side of my family, but probably a ways back.
If you listen to someone from North Wales, you listen to someone from Liverpool, do straight away.
They sound basically the same. It's just there's more emphasis in the Liverpudlian accent, which would make sense with the Irish influence.
There's a massive Irish influence. That's why the Scouse accent is so distinctive. It's very. You think, yeah, Liverpool. You can hear it straight away. Parts of Cheshire, you'll hear a little hint of it, but it's not. It's not Scouse. It's posh Cheshire kind of thing.
Yeah, it's got a bit of a tone to it, but it's not quite
Scouse.
Scouse.
Like Stoke on Trent as well. Let's start to talk a little bit like that in Stoke. But it's not.
Oh yeah, up in Trent. But the what's it? Also, a lot of west side of Yorkshire has a bit of a tone to it.
Yeah, West Yorkshire. I've noticed people in Leeds talk with a kind of strange mixture of like Hull and Lancashire, Hull accent, like the Hull accent. They'll say "I don't know," like they say in Hull. They'll have this nasal drawl like they have in Manchester. You know what I mean?
Well, before they made Merseyside its own county, it was a part of Lancashire.
It was indeed. Yeah, but it's an interesting area. I mean, Hull isn't it? Yeah, isn't it Kingston upon Hull? Isn't that the same town as Hull? I get confused.
Yeah.
Katie confuses the shit out of me, all that. I've never been to Hull. I've been past it and I may have been through it, maybe, but I've never been into Hull,
Yeah, I've never stopped there.
Oh, no, mate. Don't know much about the place, but
I mean, when it comes to Lincolnshire, though, Skegness is nice.
never been there. Not to Skegness, you know.
I mean, it gets talked down upon as like a holiday destination because it's
Yeah,
typically a working class place to go.
yeah,
But
yeah. Of
it's
course.
affordable and it's neat, and like you're not gonna feel like out of place by the people that are there. Most people are pretty poor, so you're gonna feel pretty welcome. And they
Well,
got
yeah.
some nice old stuff there. Like they got an old hotel there that was a place where mine workers used to go for their holidays off. Oh, when we used to live in the more slave-like structures of industry, where they'd have sectioned holiday locations for you to go to. The Nazis
Yeah.
did that.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, yeah. Like, so our idea of giving them a holiday was like, here's a sanctioned place for you to go, where this is your hotel to go to. You can't go to the posh people's hotels. You've got your own hotel to go to that's just basically a rundown yard that's not very well maintained. And you're near the
Uh,
beach. Enjoy your 3 to 4 days off. You're going to be back at work before the weekends.
yeah. I don't know. It's yeah.
The industrial era was mad. I mean, like a surf in the fucking like 12 to 1400s had more days off than any worker today in the world.
I'm very much. I've got a mixed attitude with a mixed relationship with technology. I'm not very good with it. I do like it when other people are dealing with it because I don't know how to maintain it very well. You know what I mean? I
What's
don't
it?
like the way it's monopolized under capitalism, and it's all about profit. So it's designed to be crap. It's designed to break down, and I find but I'm not one of these. Oh, go back to the primitive. I'm not a primitivist. I got no time for primitivism at all. I think that's
Back
just
to the Stone Age, baby. Go
yeah,
crack some rocks together and make a fire.
Oh God! I mean, I think it's a good thing to get. It's a good habit to get into. So in case if the worst comes to the worst, you can do that. You know what I mean?
Go
The
back to the
apocalypse
Stone
happens and the
Age
zombies
just in
take
case we
over.
have to start again.
Well, just in case the worst came to the worst. Yeah, exactly. Like a
Nuclear
zombie
war. We gotta
apocalypse.
know how to start from scratch.
Oh fuck
Because
that! Yeah.
white
Have you seen?
people, they would just go and literally start everything again like they did when the Romans were destroyed. They're like, you know what, like,
I probably think the
we
aliens would
should
come and help them.
start from the ground bases of these empires and work up from there. It's like, no, don't do that.
They
We could
probably
have
think
got,
the
there's
aliens
so
would
many
come and
times
help
in
them.
history that we could have got to socialism quicker. I mean, it's great that we have a materialist philosophy and we can actually do it properly now. But there's been so many attempts and tries and points in time where it could have happened. And I know you shouldn't
Yeah,
dwell on the coulda, woulda, coulda, but at the end of the day, we coulda, we shoulda, but we didn't. It's happened, but it is quite annoying that we've. It's not like everyone's thinking of like, oh, in the last century and a half, we've had so many times we could have been free. It's like no, for the last like 10,000 years, there's been so many times that humanity has freed itself. I mean, put it this way: if any system of oppression can develop us as quick as it has, and
yeah,
quickness is not important. I mean, we could have taken our time much longer and not genocided as many peoples as we had, and I'd find that a completely fair fucking trade off. I think it would be inhumane to try and say otherwise. But the
yeah,
what's it? You know, we if we could have developed as quick as we have, and we've proven that capitalism, the most efficient model of development in regards to like the class models of like old. I am excluding socialism here for a moment, a second. That's how it is with that oppressive system, and socialism, and obviously further than communism, can function on a more efficient basis without having to use as much labor time per person because it can help dividend that labor more efficiently amongst its people.
hmm
If we had that social and communal organization of structure and development, which nothing was stopping us, nothing was. I mean, it was. I mean, obviously the oppressions of class and stuff like that. But you know what I mean? Like nothing was stopping humanity from not going down that path. We could have took a different path. We didn't, and that's obviously the too late of it in that regard, and why we have to go down the revolutionary path we have to go through now. But if humans had won the revolt against class, pushed for a
yeah.
society of communal structure and development, we could have made all the developments that we've made in society today without anywhere near as much bloodshed. But things
Yeah.
went down the way that things went down, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all yeah. I mean, the only thing I'll say for capitalism was, I mean, feudalism was decaying and dying out, and it needed to be replaced. But it's like the transitional period that never transitioned to the next period.
Capitalism will only ever go halfway. That's what Engels said.
He said what? Sorry.
Capitalism will only go halfway.
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard that one before. I've forgotten who said what. I need to reread and reread and reread. Yeah.
I mean, Engels, Lenin, a couple of people go on about it, but I mean, you're making an astute observation that just makes sense with the way Marxism has perceived these things. Capitalism doesn't complete it. And so they've allowed the feudal aristocracy to withhold power in the system, and even at points of crisis, give more power to these structures. The crown, the kingdom of Charles II was the first fascist state to exist.
Okay. I mean, I don't. I'm a bit.
Fascism is by core a neo-feudal application of capitalism. And that itself, the kingdom of King Charles II and its subsequent kingdoms were neo-feudal applications of capitalism. You could argue that Britain didn't actually become liberal again. Well, actually, it would just be for the first time because it wasn't Britain when it had its liberal revolution. England, to say. Britain's first time being liberal was 1922, when they had the constitutional monarchy reforms that depowered the king and the House of Lords.
There was a lot of social change in like the early 20s. Now I think of it, you know, it means
The 1922 reform itself specifically was based off of an American reform that happened in 1916.
yeah.
America modernized its democratic structures, and we basically have the same democratic structures, so we copied.
Yeah, it's an old habit. I was going to say something else about because podcasting.
Well, you got like automatic gain on your mic settings, so like sometimes you go really really quiet for no reason.
It's always done that. It's not so bad as recently it was really quiet. You couldn't hear a bloody word I was
And
saying.
also, well, what's happening is because in Discord, if you have automatic gain on, it will just cut out sometimes if you're not reaching a certain decibel requirement, and it's automatic. So if you go into like the settings and you go to voice and video on the list, there'll be like a automatic gain control, and you turn that off, and like, or it's automatic mic sensitivity input. It's one of those two, and when you turn that off, it'll allow you to manually gate the thing. Oh, he left.
Hang on, I can't hear a bloody thing. You've gone.
I'm not saying anything. There we go.
I can hear you again now. It's weird.
Yeah, that's it. So in the settings, there's a voice and video option, and that one will have like the automatic gain control thing. When you turn that off, the mic will stop automatically guessing all the time.
I was trying to. I'm not very good with technology.
It's
Like
easy
I say,
to pick the wrong thing, but it's always good to look for the cogwheel when looking for settings.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Yeah. I'm.
Because it catches me off with things. All these UIs can be hard to navigate.
I'm still trying to get my head around Discord, so I'm trying to do more live streams on Discord so I can put them onto my channel. Because every time I'm on a live stream, it's someone else's, usually yours, but a couple other people's as well. And I don't have much content on my channel for that reason. So it's like editing is a bastard. I usually just have to use my phone, stick it in front of my face, and then go 1, 2, 3, try it, and then do it about 2 or 3 takes, and I'll just bumble my way through it. I've got a video on there, you know. That's how I work, because I'm very much primitive when it comes to that. Even though I'm not a technophobe, well, I am. I'm a technophobe, but I'm not a technology hater. I'm not a luddite. I just find it a bit frustrating because I'm not.
He actually worships Pol Pot. You haven't seen his room covered in pictures of Pol Pot and Cambodia.
Just kill anyone with glasses. By the way, I do not wear these.
I mean, I probably need glasses myself at this point. Like, I was told I'm short-sighted in the right eye. Gonzalo glasses, I'm gonna report you.
Attention, online Marxist-Leninists. It's time for you to get angry about Gonzalo in a very racist way again.
Oh, Gonzalo, I'm staying out of that.
Diminish the Peruvian Revolution to one man all the time, and it's like
So,
they are
yeah,
aware that there was more than just Gonzalo there. Like, I mean, like
I don't know enough about.
Artemio, for example, Artemio continued the struggle for like it was like 10 or 20 years later, and like I think it was 10 years, and like everyone ignores that geezer, that native geezer that was like in the fucking fields fighting with the people
The
for the
native
whole
geezer
time.
gets
Like, it
gets
just gets
ignored.
forgotten.
Why? Really? You do surprise me.
I
You know.
mean, what's it? If your skin's fucking red or black, you're fucked. That's always what it is.
Much.
It's like if you're
Much.
Asian, it's like maybe you might get away with it. If you're fucking Arab, you're fucked. If you're Jewish, you're fucked. If you're fucking black, you're fucked. If you're red skinned, you're fucked.
There's a couple of European groups that kind of not as much, but like Basques, Irish, Welsh speaking, Cymraeg speaking people can be a bit excluded, but nothing to the same extent. They still class us as white, so at least you're white. It's funny though, but there's it goes in different levels. It's like working class people as well. If they don't speak right way, they're not taken seriously and they're dismissed. It's nothing like on the level. It's nothing like on the level as if you've got a black face or as you say a red or whatever colored brown face. It's extreme then.
Think about how much disabilities play for jokes.
Yeah.
And I mean, the eugenics experience that I go through as a disabled person and millions of other people go through give us a common relationship and connection with my colonized brothers and sisters that allows me to have a greater sense of empathy for what they go through because I've been through it myself. Not exactly what they go through, but a similar experience of eugenics and mistreatment.
I mean, it's never it doesn't matter. It's not the same. The fact that you got an idea what it feels like to be fucked over, to be ignored and marginalized.
It's to be stared at as some fucking alien, like like I have to walk around with the walking stick, for example.
Yeah.
And
I don't.
put aside the fact that my walking stick right now looks like Emperor Palpatine's cane because I used to get the dirty looks before I had the Emperor Palpatine looking cane. And to be honest, bit racist of them to have a problem with my Irish fucking war club stick. Like they might think it's like some dinky fucking wooden stick, but it's able to be so thin because it's made out of fucking the shit that was used to make Irish war clubs, shillelagh.
Shillelaghs. Yeah. I was thinking I had the shillelagh in my head actually. Yeah, the shape of them's quite distinctive.
And so like it's thin, but you could fucking beat someone up with it, and it's a brass cap fucking stick.
Shillelaghs were known for being somewhat.
Yeah, the reason why it's scaled down like it is isn't because they're like, oh, it's a strong stick, so we can have it thin. It's, oh, this is a dangerous thing if it weighs a certain amount. That's why it has to be so thin. You ever look at a shillelagh walking stick? Like they're either really short and thick, or they're just really thin. If they're anything over like 90 centimeters, they get really thin.
The Irish, these ruddy colonized people, you can't be trusting them. These ruddy Africans and these damned Asians and these bloody Irish and so
on. I just stumbled on it by chance and I was like, I know that's a Celtic word. That's a Celtic word. That is, I'm buying this. Like I was looking for a cane, and I found that. And I was like, maybe it's tall enough. It seems like it's about the same length as my stick. It's just about tall enough. It happens to be a left-handed one, which it didn't specify. I don't think they knew, because it's not a very conventional-looking way to hold the stick. It's kind of quite a weird handle, because it's just been carved out of wood like that. And it's a more of a cross-country stick, even though it's got a very narrow head, because it's just a brass cap stick. I mean, they're for mountain climbing and shit like that, because they're designed for people who are elderly and live up in the fucking mountains down in the southwest.
Southwest, I think, is more where you get the mountainous regions. It's flatter in the west and the north. It varies, I think. But yeah.
Because I'm sure there's like a lot. There's you got the valleys and the mountains down the south, because it's where the bridge to the
Area, that
Atlantic
area.
is.
The far-flung Kerry Mountains, as the song goes. Something like that. Whiskey in the Jar. It's an old classic one.
Yeah, Whiskey in the Jar is an old classic. Song's beautiful. But I want to get a better shillelagh at one point. Shillelagh at one point. I just find it pretty cool, but because it's a brass capped thing as well, and that brass cap is quite sharp, and it's a flexible stick because the thing is about being a strong stick is it doesn't matter how strong your stick is. If it's thin, it's flexible, and it is quite a flexible stick. I mean, it bends sometimes when I'm using it because I mean so this is gonna be the most ADHD shit you hear ever. So it's like I need a stick to help take weight off my legs and not exhaust myself as much. So what do I do? Use the stick to power walk. I'm like, okay, well, if I put more force down with my arm, not only does that take the force off my legs, but I can move quicker. Oh, I've put some fresh metal on, boom, and I can still power walk. So I just travel really quick, and so you get even more death stares from people when you're moving quick and you got a stick. But if you're younger and you've got a walking stick, like some people are really respectful about it. Other people they give you some right dirty stares. And it's like, what are you staring?
It's another one. I mean, it's a double-edged sword when you're ostensibly able-bodied, like you're autistic and you've got mental health problems.
I've been stigmatized from getting a stick for years. I've been needing one for ages.
You don't get the stigma of having a walking stick, but you get another stigma of not being as bad as you claim to be, kind of thing. That you're a malingerer and you're just milking the thing, and that's what you get when you're. Do you know what I mean? You've got mental health problems, but you're not like hearing voices and thinking that your brain's being taken over by spiders or something. Then you're not really mentally ill, and shut the fuck up and get on with it. You know what I mean?
It's like when I was getting occupational therapists to help me get a stick. I'd never owned a walking stick, and I'd never had a doctor explain me how to use one in my life before. And because I got confused as to which hand I would use for it, because I'm not a medical specialist. They didn't tell me they weren't going to turn up. They just told me they were going to give me my stick and come up at some point, and just never came. And fucking left me at that, and it's like, I don't fucking know how to use these things. I've never had one before. You got to explain it to me. And so I had to go and buy my own. When the NHS should have been providing me one that would have been double adjustable, would have been more comfortable to use, and you know it's just everything's been a pain in the ass because what they sell on Amazon is crap.
I can imagine. I can well imagine. What was I going to say? How many monarchies? Getting back to what we're talking about monarchy. How many monarchies do we have left now? As soon as we're talking anti-monarchist action.
I mean, you've got like the Swedish monarchy, the British monarchy. I think Norway still has a monarchy.
Yeah, Norway, Denmark still does, and the Netherlands, and I think does Belgium. Spain, yeah, of course. Belgium. I think Belgium does, doesn't it?
I don't know about Belgium. I know that they basically belong to the UK, so. Which is an interesting thing, considering that's the capital of the EU. Yet it was a British. It was a British. What's it?
Belgium is a kingdom in the northwestern Europe.
British pseudo state that was made in Celtic land in Europe, so that they could attack the French.
Yeah, because Belgium's not really a.
Yeah, it used to be Celtic, and then it was taken over by Germans.
The Walloons.
The Frankish got them first, and the Frankish are mostly Dutch, and then the Dutch and the English came after, and eventually turned into
I think were the Walloon. The kind of somebody says a Walloon language is like a Frankish language, but I think the original Walloon language is more like a Brittonic language.
It would have been Brittonic, because it was a part of Gaul. Belgium was. Then when Gaul was broken up by the Romans, you had the different Brittonic groups of France that was somewhat split up.
And he was the only,
Because you've got Brittany, you've got the group in the south that I always forget the name of, and then you've got...
South of France. Oh god, I don't know, I can't remember. And there's the Basques as well, which is they'll call themselves anything but Spanish. The ones in places like Bilbao and Santo.
Fuck the Spanish, fuck the French, pseudo nations. Same as the British.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to think of a good name for the island that is known as Britain.
I'd say the Brittonic Isles. That's the way I'd put it.
I mean, it's a thing with the Irish thing with like the whole British. Anything British is just it's unthinkable.
That's why I feel like Brettonic, because
Yeah,
BRET,
I know.
it's quite a big shift
Just,
to the
just
original name of the Bretons.
yeah. It just gives a nasty taste with anything to do with Brit.
But I mean,
English,
I
British. You know what I mean?
I think in the case of with the Irish as well, they've sort of corrected that course with the Emerald Isle. But it's like with the mainland, it's about getting a name that suits the Cymric and the Scottish and the Cornish. That's why I feel like Brittonic would be a good one because it can bring a closer relationship with Brittany and other Celtic groups into that retrospective. But I mean, the English kind of just have to suck it. Like whatever name gets given to this place, we'll have to go along with it. I mean, England still has to toss up whether England will be England anymore in the whole situation because I think if the South needs to be careful because culturally, if they're not careful, the North will go and run over to Scotland. They're not afraid to do it. I mean, a lot of North English people have been turning around and saying that, like, off the Scottish referendum and their NHS keeps going better than ours, we'll leave, just have the same NHS and the free schooling until, well, for all free schooling, you know, for university and all that. So, like, that probably will happen. It's not an unlikely thing.
It'd be nice to see, I don't know, some kind of people's republic with local cultures being preserved. You can still have your cities and your towns and all the rest of it, but you just don't. They don't have to be these monstrosities dedicated to wealth. It could be social centres with urban farms on them. They have that in countries like Cuba. They have urban farms.
I think that socialism needs to be very town centric if it's going to solve the problem of capitalism.
I mean, cities are there. You know, you can't.
Yeah, you can't undo a city so much as, but you can at least prevent the creation of more and focus on a structure that is more decentralized. Well, centralized in its economics, but decentralized in its physical existence. What would be the right word for it?
Cities can be. I have a
equal development. Equal development is better done through towns because you can spread them out more without taking up as much space and therefore preserve a lot of nature as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I do like about Newcastle. You've got the town moor, pretty much close to the city centre, and it's like there's cows. You can be walking past the Barrack Road, which is where Newcastle United football ground is, and next to it there's the town moor. I thought I walked past there because I used to live close to there at one point. I was walking home. I remember hearing this. I thought it sounded like a zombie going. It was a fucking cow. That's the thing about Newcastle. It's a city. It's got that town moor there, and it's got you've got like parks, and that's why Newcastle is.
I mean, Norfolk's like that. Norfolk's got that very like towny, hoaxy feel to it.
Yeah, I've only been to Norfolk once or twice, maybe, but I don't really know it at all. I've been to Norwich, which is quite pleasant from my memory of it 22 years ago.
But I did like interestingly enough, town we both grew up in is actually a perfect example of the type of town that really does show the perfect amount of it. A very large town that had its own self-sustaining industry.
Yes,
Was actually a leading house in working class motor industry. Won't go too far into that because it is an instant dogs, but the what's it? You know exactly what I'm on about. But the leading in mining, textiles development, and was the gateway of the north for centuries. A town like that, it's bigger than most of the cities other than Birmingham that's near it. And it's got a population that's almost 100,000 size strong. I mean, when I was a kid, it was in the 60,000, so it's gone up by like 20 odd thousand now, and it's fucking still big. It's still big, growing and bustling. And if the industry hadn't gone, it would be an even bigger bustling industry than it is now. And it still doesn't take up too much of it. I mean, it takes up more than it needs to be honest, and could take up less of its land, and did have more farmland back in the 70s.
Yeah.
But it's still surrounded by a lot of greenery. It's very functional. It's interconnected. It's part of trade routes. And if you had loads of those towns around and didn't build any more cities, you wouldn't take up too much land space. Because the problem, look at London or Birmingham or any of those big metropolitan areas, and they take up so much space
Yeah.
with their concrete wasteland that no one wants to live in. Everyone that lives there feels dread.
There's a certain appeal to cities that I've always had, but there's also this fucking alienating thing, especially London, Birmingham as well to some extent. Coventry, I haven't been there since I was a kid, so I can't remember Coventry that well. I mean, but other cities like Derby, Leicester, Nottingham. I mean, I've lived in various parts of the Midlands in my lifetime, my younger days. And you've got like Nuneaton, Tamworth, Lichfield, Burton-on-Trent, and all those areas, and Rugeley and all that, Cannock and all that. There's a strange checkerboard of massive one big, massive, horrible blood. I mean, Birmingham's not my favourite city. Coventry's a bit grim as well in some ways, but there's beauty to both of them. There's beauty to every place. It's a weird checkerboard, that area, the Midlands, of like.
They're all connected by pit lines.
Again?
The people that worked those pits worked all the different pits because you would be sent for miles on days in those pit mines.
It's similar. The North East is kind of similar. You've got all these like towns in like Sunderland, which has now it's all swallowed up as the biggest city in the North East of Sunderland. There's little towns in Durham and villages, and they're all gone, but they're all now part of the greater part of Sunderland now. You know, that's why Sunderland's the biggest city in the North East, not Newcastle. Newcastle's the most healthy, if you will. But Newcastle's actually very small. It's a very small place. It's cheaper to live in, say, Gateshead or South Shields or like, North Shields or whatever than it is to live in Newcastle. Sadly, because I do like Newcastle.
It's the Northeast mining music where we got tunes like Black-Legged Mining Man from.
Was that from around here? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's from the Northeast.
It was the Northeast. I probably did actually, but my friend Chris is the my friend and drum and percussion drum player. He's a local lad. He knows a lot about the history of the Northeast, Newcastle, Gateshead, and all around that. And all around Tyneside. He's a bit of a proud Geordie lad. There, Chris.
For those in the chat though that don't know what a black-legged mining man is, black-legged mining man is he's the one who helps the boss nail his brothers to the cross. The lyrics of the songs go.
They were called blacklegs. The reason for it was they used to get a lot. To be fair to the blackleg, originally a lot of them didn't know they were breaking strikes. They were peasants from out of the city, like in Wales and Ireland. They were used at the point of starvation to said, we'll get you a job. Don't ask any questions. And they give them short trousers, so the legs went black. That's what it was. They had short trousers, so the lower legs used to get covered in coal dust. Hence the term blackleg. To be fair to them, some of them didn't realise they were being used as strike breakers. I think, at least that's what I understand. I don't know the details.
I don't know because they were killing people and shit.
Oh yeah, the scabs, the blacklegs.
Yeah, because a lot of them they were basically people that were being bought off to break strikes.
I'm just trying to say this.
No, yeah, it was a dodgy situation, but this is how aristocracies are created. They take a dodgy situation and basically they would abuse these poor folk into betraying their class and selling out their folks.
Yeah,
and
they did that in the miners' strike of 84, 85, but it was more okay. I mean, the miners who were going back to work, some of them were saying, I don't want to go back to work, but I'm being starved back. There was funds to sort of raise money and use soup kitchens and stuff like that to stop them being forced back into work, but some of them, it became such a pressure on them. Some of them used to say didn't want to go back to work, but they had no choice, and I won't judge them for that. I will judge the fucking scab. The real scab is the one that doesn't give a shit and goes, fuck you, I'm going back to work, you bunch of commies. Those ones are scum.
That's where the song is coined at. The song is coined at the ones who broke picket lines in the 1800s.
Yes, yeah.
In the 1900s, and so they would also get called black-legged mining men.
Yeah. They were not
gone and sold his soul for a ton of lumped up black-legged coal.
I can't remember the lyrics, but I don't know, I might even record a version of that song. It's a great tune.
It is an absolute. I'm gonna pop it on the tape. when I
Okay.
get a functional recorder going.
Yeah.
But one of my favorite
Good.
lyrics of it is one of the day let me get the lyrics up actually to remember this bit properly. It's a really good bit. Fucking stoned and I can't recollect things
Alright.
very easily anyway.
We can have a talk about this then. Slag off the monarchy even more because it is a anti-monarchist thing, and I mean, knock it on the head maybe in a bit. I don't know. I don't know how long we've been going on for. Sorry.
That's alright.
Just I didn't realise I was tagged in a SLR 44 tagged me in a message here. I didn't see that. It was a while ago, I think. Wasn't looking at the chat, and I'm only looking at it now. So yeah, did I see that CBS post where they showed a rainbow and said that a rainbow appeared? Oh, I did see that. SLR 44, if you're still there. I think I did see that. It made me cringe. About the royal family, by the way.
Pushing my cigar.
Wanky tanky. Yankee wanky.
It's the hanky spanky Yankee tanky wank. Oh wait, no, I got it wrong. It's the hanky spanky wanky tanky Yankee.
Mr. Fucking Yankee tanky. That bastard scrounge that I'm fucking dirt poor myself, and he's there.
Oh wait, I know what it is. It's hanky panky Yankee spanky wanky tanky. That's it.
Yeah, but no, I mean he's there scrounging money, and I don't mind because he's poor. So am I. I thought, well, I thought if I can spare $10 or 10, 11 quid, I'll do it. So I managed to just do that. He's there, thank you very much. I'm thinking he didn't ask again. I'll give him that. But the bastard doesn't block me after that. I thought, well, it wasn't straight away. To be fair, it was a space of time. But I thought after that, yeah, I fucking helped you out, you bastard. I get blocked. It's probably because I cannot stand Dugan, and I cannot stand anything to do with Patsockism. Maybe that's what it is. It's just sectarianism. But yeah, fuck off. You're just crypto fascists. So I fucked a lot of them. But anyway, so I'm not really looking much at the comment chat thing here. So I've been missing out on what people have been talking to me. I didn't even see it.
Yeah, I struggle to keep.
Yes, SLR 44. Sorry about that, man. I didn't see your comment until earlier. I just saw myself tagged in a comment. It was cringeworthy. Deary me. Anyway, British media, yellowish and thin skin. Jesus. Anyway, yeah. Where were we? I've lost my thread now completely. The problem with the live streams we do, it's always a pair of autistic fuckers talking about everything and anything and going off on tangents and sidetracking ourselves.
This is basically the gist of it. Like, you know, next thing you know, we end up on a topic about like fucking floristry or something.
Always. I'll have to put this on my channel actually.
Yeah, YT5 is not a bad YouTube downloader.
I don't know how to actually start these chats myself, otherwise I might do one myself. Get someone to moderate it.
OBS is what I use for streaming. It's an open source streaming platform thing.
Do what, sorry?
OBS. Oscar Bravo Sierra.
Right, not familiar
Not
with that.
to be confused with IBS.
You have to get down to toilet humour, eh?
It's my
Could start talking about pendulum turds again, but I thought I'd better not. That's when I see the dog after eating grass, he gets the pendulum turds hanging out of his arse. It's so adult in this group. This is why the Patsocks call us degenerates, you know. Talking about poo jokes in the middle of a live stream while talking about the monarchy. You're alienating the working class with your stupid hair and you're not wearing a suit and tie.
One day,
It's okay, man.
black leg mine and man. One day,
Not wearing a suit and tie alienates fascists. Yay! Not wearing a suit and tie and being a slightly older person where we're dyeing your hair green, black and orange apparently makes you a degenerate. In the eyes of a bunch of
You have a
right-wing
funny hair, but you're in trouble. If you don't have just short back and sides.
A traitor
Oh.
like mining man, he'll see
Yeah, well.
that black leg mining man when he looks into the glass. A traitor to his class, he'll see.
So he'll see that black-legged mining man when he looks into the glass, a traitor to his class.
Oh, yeah. Lost me thread again.
And he's gone and sold his soul for a lump of black-legged coal. The fucking image for the album cover has "How are you off for coals" on the front of it. He'll realize what he has done when there's no one for his sons.
Um,
I'm being bent up to fuck.
Right, yes. What was I saying? Lost my thread completely. That leg miner, yeah, isn't it? Strange, isn't it? From hardship comes such wonderful tunes.
Absolutely.
Um,
The IRA music is a good example.
oh, yeah. Yeah. That's funny because I remember a time in the sort of central area of England where being in the Irish diaspora singing such songs could get you beaten up. I had my name smeared around certain towns in that region.
I
Some
can't
sort of
believe I've fucking managed to walk around places playing that music out loud and never
Yeah.
had the shit kicked out of me.
I used to get the you fucking IRA or what? So I'm a what? I'm not a member of any political organisation or legal or otherwise. What are you talking about? Yeah, fucking like, fuck off.
Fucking Lumpen-Maoist just goes fucking badass at him and goes, yeah, what? I am Antifa and what? It's like, fuck
Yeah.
off.
Yeah. I think my friend from Canada
Brother knows how to just take it to the pits, like ready to fight any man then that wants to start. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I'm like, do I go them on? Do I tell him to be more responsible in the situation? And obviously my mindset's just, yeah, go on, fucking get him. So I end up golding. I end up encouraging in the situation. I am not the voice of reason people think I am. I am the big monkey brain. I am the one that's like, yeah.
It's a reason. Oh, I don't know. I'm quite
I mean,
reasonable.
it's reasonable when you're dealing with monarchy.
Well, reasonable towards monarchy is get rid of them. I'm not suggesting
mean,
we do what
for all gamer purposes, and to keep this on the comedic line that I set the genre to comedy, the Romanov treatment. That's what's needed.
don't necessarily have to go that far, but if needs must, then we have to do a
Well, I
drastic
mean,
solution to them.
one of them, like
No.
you know, the GTA,
It's-
the GTA when you see a police officer treatment. No, I'll have you know, monarchy, that is the legal law of this land. I am very polite in GTA. I shoot them dead straight in the head. I don't do anything fucking aggressive or violent. It is peaceful murder.
I think
At
I
least
do
if
believe.
we're to ask the many people that have been executed by the gun in the colonies, I'm sure that they would certainly agree and would not have any objections that might put the British Empire into question entirely.
Yeah.
We should ask them. I'm sure the British Empire wouldn't mind. They love to go and take photo shoots of like Will and his fucking wife, who looks like she's had the life sucked out of her in like the 10
There's a
years
bit
she's been in
actually
the
now, I think
monarchy.
it's looking very blue on this YouTube stream, by the way. It's, I don't know, is that
But
you?
like, it's fine. Like I've just made us like green, but because you're already
That's
green, you've been color
I'm
corrected
not
blue.
complaining. My t-shirt looks purple and my hair looks blue.
That's what I mean, like, because you're already green on the hair, like you've gone a different color, but like I've gone for like Fallout green, or the slime, the reactionary slime has taken over, the revisionist slime.
That a revisionist slime, or are you saying? Or are you talking about
It's the
thought slime?
Morphin thing, because like Morphin went on about like thought slime being like
He has the
Organic.
slime with him, and that's what the working class are trying to stomp out. They're trying to get rid
It's
of slime.
disgusting.
it's
Infusing
funny because
slime.
the argument he was actually poising about like cracked streets and you know
He's a bit.
it echoes the same argument that the sewer
Right.
socialists used to push about the sewage
Not
system
really,
in
yeah.
America. They constantly wanted to push for reformism because the sewage system in America needed fixing. It was terrible.
Yeah,
And like people like
It's,
what's his name, Eugene Debs turned around and was like, "You guys are sewer socialists. You're more focused on reformism than you are." And it was an 1870s carryover that Eugene Debs brought into the 20th century. And
Right.
Caleb
Morphin-
Morphin is a sewer socialist. I called him out on him, like
Makes the
basically
name
never
drop.
talking about Eugene Debs, and like he
Oh.
cited me to a video where like if he does quote Eugene Debs, he doesn't mention that he's quoting him. So to find where he's quoted when
Spanky-
I'm not
yeah.
a Eugene Debs expert is like, and he didn't
Spanky
give me a
boy wasn't
timestamp.
name
He
dropping.
just sent me a video. He didn't give me a timestamp of where he specifically quotes Eugene Debs when I called him out for it, and he blocked me after like turning around and saying I don't understand what the lumpen is. Because I turned around and was like, "Why are you being so arsy with me? Just explain to me what I don't know. Then I'm a lumpen proletarian, and you're just speaking to me like a dickhead and not explaining anything to me." He's like,
You won't call yourself a lumpen proletariat if you know what that means. Go watch my channel and maybe you'll learn what lumpen proletariat and fascist means.
I watched this video on the lumpen proletariat, and it's racist as fuck. He goes on about like a job that he had in a gas station, and it sounds like he's just basing it off Jason's job at a gas station because he never
Yeah.
goes on about this job at a gas station when he was trying to.
Is this when he
Like
said that?
3 months earlier, he was trying to dick measure with thought slime overworking, and he just mentioned like
Burger
3 weeks that he worked at a sandwich shop during his college. And didn't
It
mention
doesn't-
this gas station job that he explicitly mentioned in his Lumpen Proletarian video. He explicitly mentioned this gas station job was in a black area.
His
Which is
Morphin
already
was what-
bad coding language from a white middle class guy. Well, let's be real, white upper class guy. He comes from a pretty bourgeois background.
Don't know
And
much
he's
about.
he's worth. I think he's worth like $2 million. Like the guy's like
Really?
very
Oh,
wealthy
that's good
geezer,
class.
and his father was the one of the managerial board members of several charities.
I didn't know that. I didn't know the details. I knew he
Yeah,
was.
yeah. Like he's a
He
family
claimed.
that's gotten rich off of other people's misery.
I knew he wasn't as working class as he claimed. I mean, that's kind of.
Oh, he's not working class at all. Morphin is straight petty bourgeoisie. Like it's family owned farmland.
Yeah.
Like yeah. They're what they are people that became plot owners when the American peasantry was turned into the American petty bourgeoisie. They became petty
Yeah.
landowners.
What was I saying?
I mean, because think
Thing
about
I-
it with Ohio. How'd you be a rich person in a small town?
Was that?
He saw a small town in Ohio called Orville. And how'd you be a rich person in a small town? I mean, even in our large town, it's like the rich people were either farmland owners or they were like the mayor and the few big capitalists that lived there, which lived up in the fucking I guess this won't be too much seductive, but up there where the miners' walk was, the dog walk, near where White Bridge is and all that lot, and the pigs is.
Yeah. I was going to say
When you're on your way north up towards Shuttington.
Oh, right.
Yeah, because that's where all the big rich people houses are.
Yes, very true.
I mean, there are some up the other end of town now, but like they're nowhere near as big as them ones.
Last time I went to Lichfield in the Midlands, very in that area I've lived in.
Quite posh.
Cannock was a bit more poor. I remember, Lichfield was the posh place. Tamworth, the other one, that seems to have gotten very gentrified lately. And I don't know about Nuneaton because I haven't been to
Burton
Nuneaton.
is still very
years.
poor. I can speak up to Burton. Burton's
Yeah,
beautiful.
Tamworth. I mean, I last visited Tamworth a few years ago, and it's gone. It's. I mean, I've spent time there, spent time in Lichfield, spent time in Birmingham, spent time in Derby, spent time in Leicester, Colville, and all those areas. Colville, I don't know what that's like these days. Leicester, I don't know. I haven't been there for 25 years.
I'm
The one
like a
I went to most
20-minute bus ride away from Lichfield. And I can
Yeah,
stay with
well,
Lichfield.
the one I went to most recently when I went back down to the Midlands was Tamworth, and that was very quite. I went. Town centre's just very dead. There's nothing going. There's nothing there.
High
It's all-
Street's falling apart in that area, same as it is in
Yeah, that's-
Lichfield.
I've heard people that come from there said to me that some of it's gone proper gentrified, but it's still some very poor areas. But they've got these. You'll notice these previously working class areas have gone very gentrified lately.
Fucking
no,
huge town though, fucking huge.
It's always been a big town. It's much bigger than Lichfield, which is officially a city. I mean, you know, it's yeah. I don't know. I don't know if
it's
I'm not
going
sure
to
it's
end
the
up
biggest.
consuming Polesworth and all that lot as well.
I'm not sure. I mean, yeah, Polesworth and all that is technically Warwickshire.
Its
But
own
it's like,
town. I mean, half of Tamworth is technically Warwickshire. Well, up until 1967 with the partition.
Leamington, Stony Delph, that area was all Warwickshire. Yeah, I know.
Abington as well.
It's like because well, basically they didn't want Lichfield did not want Tamworth expanding northwards. It would encroach on them, and they look down their noses at Tamworth. They've got Rugeley to the north, which is a bit more working class as well. You go through Lichfield into Brereton and then into Rugeley. But Lichfield was surrounded by all these plebs and peasants, and they didn't want them, so Tamworth had to expand southwards. And it goes towards you've got Addiston a bit further down, and then Nuneaton. I think Nuneaton's actually a bit slightly bigger than Tamworth, isn't it? I'm not absolutely
Nuneaton's still stuck in 1862.
I haven't been there for years, so those are the towns I used to sort of know was Tamworth, Lichfield, Nuneaton. Not so much Nuneaton, but Tamworth, Lichfield, Birmingham, and Leicester and Derby and those towns, you know. Nottingham. Those are the places I used to hang out. And when I lived in that region, I won't say which one of them I lived in, or I didn't say I lived in any of them, did I? I lived somewhere around there at one point.
Yeah,
In between.
I mean, I know where I live quite well. I know Tamworth alright. I know.
Yeah, I know Tamworth quite well. I know
Lichfield
Lichfield.
alright. I know.
It's just,
I know
I don't miss living there.
Birmingham, okay.
I'm more of an honorary Geordie now, so you know what I mean.
I know Polesworth pretty well, but Polesworth's pretty easy to know.
Haven't been there for decades, so.
Tiny.
Anyway, I remember the time around that area, 1981, when the current king got married to his now dead wife, who some have theorised was a victim of an accident. Others theorised she was actually bumped off. I don't know. I don't much care. I remember when if you dared speak out against that, it's more dangerous even then than it is even now if you make mockery of the Queen. We didn't have social media to realise that we weren't alone like we have now. You know what I mean? I remember when I was a kid when that happened. I remember it was like Jesus. Can anyone else say I don't care about the fucking royal wedding? A few years later, they were slating him and slagging him off and calling him an adulterer, calling her a tramp and all that. And it's just insane. Absolute madness. You know, that suddenly, maybe I was right after all, but then, hang on, no, you're not. You're a... Yeah. Anyway. I still look at... I still cringe when I look at monarchy. It's like, what's the point of it all? You know, I think it's the idea that it's not so bad. If capitalism gets bad, we can always go back to monarchy, because God forbid that we go forward towards something that's called socialism. That's unthinkable. You know, they can call it socialism when it's like the Labour Party in charge, or the Social Democrats in countries like Germany or whatever. You can't have.
You have
socialism.
to be an American to think that that's socialism, or a Nazi, or a fascist. You either have to be a fascist or an American. Which, I mean, what's the difference?
I think that like Sweden and the Nordic states are actually socialist. It's funny because some of
I mean, isn't it kind of funny that Americans think that just like Nazism is like an innately German thing, when if anything, it's an innately American thing?
Well,
America is a birth product of British colonialism and is therefore always culturally colonial.
It's
And
yeah,
fascism
it's
is
also
based off of colonialism. It's like, you know, how the
oh,
police is based off of the colonial garrison. The police themselves are a fascist institution that was brought into power by the neoconservatives of Sir Robert Peel.
much. Yeah,
They have a fucking
yeah.
statue of him as well around there.
Well, Robert, yes, they do. If I remember correctly.
Got a
Um,
fucking they put a steel box around him during the fucking
oh, that
Black
yeah,
Lives
I saw
Matter.
the. Was it in Nuneaton? They did. It was like it's in Nuneaton. They put one around George Eliot. She was the local writer, and it's like George Eliot was a
They were
progressive, and she
boxing up
like,
Churchill as well. They postponed the Margaret
George
Thatcher statue. And
George
then
Eliot
and
was.
then and then put out that they're gonna put it on like a 10-foot plinth or something like that.
I mean, George
It's
George
alright
Eliot was
because
a.
the more height they give us, the easier it is to pull down. So thank you.
I mean, the stupid
The
thing is,
force.
I mean, George Eliot was was a not conservative. She was a progressive. She had absolutely no time for that. Yet they were.
I mean, at the end of the day, why do they think we're gonna be going for that? What we're going for is Churchill, Thatcher, the slavers, and just random white people just for the laugh of it. I mean, why not?
Yeah.
It's funny to piss people off. Just go and pull down like a fucking Isaac Newton statue or something just for no reason. It's a statue. I don't like statues. Rah, like
I don't like
Antifa stereotype. Like, just go set fire to a bin and spit on
statues.
it.
I just don't like. I love proper statues. I just don't like statues of slave-owning fucking racists and colonizers.
I
You know what I mean?
can't believe the stereotype people make of Antifa. It's like, where is this bin burning thing come from? Like, why is this bullshit?
Bin burning. No, it's probably the usual shite about.
Because if anything, the only time I've ever been near a burning bin was when I was a pisshead teenager and I used to like to set fire to things. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's the only time I've been near someone like that. Like, and you know, if they're robbing like stores and all that, like, all the advice should be to them is don't rob small businesses. I'm not gonna cry if they do, but they should
Yeah.
focus on corporations if they're gonna behave like that. Like, in my
Well, yeah.
opinion. But even still, I mean, property is property. Like, human life is more important than property. But they gotta smash some shit. They gotta smash some shit. I'm for Antifa. You know, if I was out in the streets, I'd say I am Antifa, but unfortunately, I ain't out in the streets doing struggle, so I don't get to have that privilege.
Yeah, I mean, anti-fa just means anti-fascist. That's all it
Well,
is.
I am anti-fascist, but I'm, you know what I mean, like an actual activist. You know, anti-fascist action is activism, and being online isn't activism.
I'm
So,
not an activist anymore. I mean, I've never been
you know,
involved.
it's like I couldn't call myself a revolutionary because I'm not doing revolutionary actions. So I'm
No,
not
not anymore. I
worthy
used
of, I'm not worthy of the title yet.
I mean,
Emphasis on yet.
I've done a bit, but it was either reel it in and stay alive, or keep on going and make myself even more ill than I already was until I was dead. I thought I'm more use alive, even if it's only in spouting shit online.
My health is falling apart, so
It can really fuck you up.
NHS is gonna be the death of me,
the
figuratively and
NHS.
literally.
Oh, the old NHS, you gotta love it, but yeah, I'd like it if it
Fucking,
worked
you
properly.
could have loved it. It's fucking dying now.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it's.
It's
I do get
like
annoyed at
pus
people
that's
just.
being forcibly kept alive by capital that doesn't even want to keep it alive, and it's slowly
Yeah.
dissolving it further and further.
Yeah, well. I was going to say something else, but yeah, they're too busy. They're too busy. They're too busy funding. Well, like bloody
There's always money for war.
wars and royal funerals. You know what I mean?
There's always money for war. For the tanks and
Cool.
the planes and the bullets and the guns. There's always money for war. Got no money for the nurses. Got no money for the doctors at the NHS. Got no money for the teachers. Got no money for the people on benefits. Not even if you're disabled or a mother that's struggling to buy food.
Anyway,
The other one,
we've been going on here for how many hours now?
it's 3 hours and 8.
Bloody hell. You want to say something more about the it's funny they keep talking about decadence. It's like, yeah, yes, it's in the ruling elite. It's not. I mean, yeah,
What's
the working class
decadent
might
about
want to.
laughing at the death of Queen Elizabeth? I cheered when I found out she was dead.
I just kind of went. The dead monarchs couldn't give a shit. I mean, it's they
cheered
go on
with
about.
joy. I did. I was like,
Yeah,
yeah.
the fucking bitch is dead.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, like
another thing.
I was like an Angloid at a football game.
Oh man, it's just why I don't know.
At the end of the day, like I can't believe there's Americans that be like, "Oh, how could you glorify the death of someone?" It's like she's a fucking evil witch, and you know what? Like glorifying her death might push the English people over the edge and actually go for anti-monarchism and push for a republic.
We can hope and dream. I'm not so sure it's going to happen, but hey, you know,
If it does happen, the Union won't survive. The Union will crumble, and when the Union crumbles, the British Empire can't keep itself together.
it would be a nice thought. I'd like to think that's true. I'm not sure, but maybe.
Thing is, Canada and Australia could go their own as empires, so they're probably not going to be too affected by it. But all of the other countries would be nice and free, kind of, hopefully. I mean, Canada and Australia could just take over the British Commonwealth, so it might not be so rosy.
Yeah.
But they would be willing to fight and fight for their freedom in that process. I mean, it's the point of the issue that I want to put forward is that, like, you know, it's not just about pushing for anti-monarchism in England, Wales, Cornwall, Scotland, and Ireland. It's, you know, it's about the whole British Commonwealth
Yeah.
that needs to push through this process. I mean,
I mean,
those
that's
that are still
it's
under the monarchy, and even those
Yeah.
that aren't still under the monarchy that are in the Commonwealth, they need to be pushing for anti-British unionism, because we're not just against the monarchy, we're against the union, and that's an in tandem process. The British Union was created by the British monarchy.
What sickens me so fucking much is how many people there seem to be against the monarchy, but they want to keep the union together. I mean, these are the same one. There's a certain gobshite he's not. I don't think he's unionist. He's from the north of Ireland, but he's a anti-masker. The bastard's been churning out forced birth stuff. You know, so-called pro-life stuff.
What I don't get about the people that are like anti-vax, if you're gonna be anti-vax, be pro-mask. Like, at the end of the day, be pro-mask and be pro-quarantine. Because like I'm someone who's like, because they were wrongly administering jabs, I can't feel safe taking them. Because when they're wrongly administering jabs, because either a jab goes in your muscle or it goes in your vein, it's an easy thing to decide to want to fuck up. Usually that happens through eugenic practices, so I'm gonna stay out of it. There's a reason why elderly people and disabled people have been having really bad turnover in regards to those things, because of that type of mentality. So I gotta stay away from things like that. It makes it easier for people like me who have to deal with troubles like that if we just had proper quarantine and people wore their masks.
Yeah, but it's this.
I'm terrible for wearing my mask these days. Like, I'm not focusing on it enough, and that's bad on my end. Because if I get COVID on top,
I have to be careful as well because I'm a vulnerable person too.
I got a compromised autoimmune system, so
Same, much the same.
fucking fibromyalgia puts you in a fucking nasty position because there's like a 90-odd% turnover for having fucking the thyroid problems I've got, which is a Hashimoto's hyperthyroidism. My thyroid is producing too many T3 and T4 hormones, and so my metabolism is ridiculously high.
Yeah.
But energy like fucking crazy.
There seems to be a lot of people that they still want. They're ferociously against picking up the UK, but they want the king gone. They want the kingdom. You know, it's like being pro, as you say, being anti-vax and anti-mask as well. You know, if you're going to be against one, then why would you be against the other? It's just petulance. It's just fucking.
I mean,
I've
I'm
seen
not
this.
going to argue with someone if they think they've got a more natural way of preventing themselves from catching and spreading the coronavirus, so long as they prevent themselves from catching and spreading the
They don't. So
coronavirus.
it's not, and they don't give a shit about spreading it to other
Like,
people. They
I'm
don't.
not someone who's so strict where I'm like, okay, you got to go get a vax, especially one that's an experimental vaccine that's been
Yeah.
reported that it's not been administered properly. I can respect that someone would not want to take that in this situation. Capitalism is not
Listen,
something I
I
trust,
don't.
medically
I don't.
speaking, because people who are disabled have a long history of being medically fucked with. I know,
Yeah, true.
autism, for example. At one point
Yeah.
in time, they decided to experiment with hallucinogenics on us. They've done a lot of horrible things to autistic people, testing all sorts of wacky drugs. Same with epileptic people, and what's it? People with my type of conditions, crippling conditions. I would have been chemically castrated any time before the 60s.
Yeah.
And the chemical castration that they use makes you go insane, and they had a mass over turnout of people going into mental asylums who had been chemically castrated and lost their minds, including the person who invented the computer.
Yes, Turing. Is it Turing?
Yeah, Alan Turing.
Yeah.
Also helped crack the Enigma, the Enigma code. Alan Turing did. Alan Turing, Colin Grazier, and all them lot. What's it? Oh shit! Ba-ding.
Back again.
Guess who's back? Back again.
Froze up there. Yeah.
Aliens are back.
Eugenics. Yeah, I mean,
Some years later.
The thing is, they're saying that they're twisting what you're saying around to make it to end up coming out on the same side as anti-vaxxers. They're also saying that no, Scotland can't go independent. Scotland was an empire. Scotland's imperialist too. Yeah, but it's not as simple as that. The north of
They
England.
gotta go independent. It's just like we gotta watch what they do. That's all. Everyone's just gotta watch what they do.
With the north of England and stuff like that. But I mean, they're also saying that if you can't, they don't want to break up the UK, but they want to get rid of the king. So what do they want? They want a British Empire that's like the United States. So a British United States of.
They want the half-assed revolution of America, where they get rid of the monarchy but keep the exact same structures of government and just make the president the king.
Yeah. There's another fucker.
And there was an almost civil war over whether that president should be a king anyway.
Yeah. I mean, there's a fucker I met from the north of Ireland. I'm not going to name him, but I fucking hate the cunt. He was saying he was in favour of forcing women to have unwanted pregnancies, and he's saying it's a class war thing. They're using it as eugenics against the working class by making women have abortions. No, you're preventing women from choosing to have abortions on their own fucking on their own volition.
Women who might need abortions.
Oh no! But I said to this prick before. I said you are still steeped in that Catholic rabbit hole, sunshine. I'm one myself, lapsed Catholic Irish Republican too. I know that rabbit hole very well. He wriggled and he wouldn't admit it. No. That's not that I'm not even a practicing Catholic. You don't need to be practicing, but you can still be in fucking rabbit holes that were forced onto you by that fucking religious dogma. This is why I'm an atheist, by the way. No, I'm not an anti-theist like Richard Dawkins or Christopher fucking Hitchens or people like that, but I am still very, it's a Generation X thing, I think, We were still we were the last ones to get the religious shit rammed down our throats, more so than the millennials or the...
Oh yeah, I mean, what's it? The whole, like, any sex out of marriage would get you fucking
there was still...
family sort of shit.
That was still... The last vestiges of that were still there, so we were the ones listening to Slayer and putting inverted crosses. I was putting inverted crosses over my RE boots.
You listen to that devil music, it's gonna possess you.
It's... Then 20 years later, the Christian right were all listening to heavy metal and rock music.
Oh, well, now it'll be like, fucking, I warned you when you were a kid, now you're gay because of Slayer or some shit like that.
Yes.
what's it? I accidentally went for an American accent there, but actually gets to an unfortunate tale with Ireland today, and that's the prevailing of
Well, what
Irish
tale with Irish?
American accent
Irish
being
American, with Irish accents.
popularized there.
Which accents?
After
Which Irish
decades
accent?
of
Which
fetishizing the Irish English
particular Irish
accent.
accent? There's about can think there's about 50 or 60 Irish accents I can possibly maybe think of. Anyway, yeah.
No, but
quite a
like
few.
there's because there used to be the popularization of the English Irish accent, and then like
Yeah.
now it's the American Irish accent that's starting to be popularized
Um,
over there over
no, I
like
don't
native
understand.
Irish accents.
It's like this thing about left wing people being pro monarchy. Now you've got left wing people being patriotic socialists and pro unionists.
Those people ain't left wing.
Pro
They
unionists.
think they're
British
left.
nationalists. I mean, where have we heard this before? Where does this? What does this stink of? I don't want to.
I mean, they
Reduce-
promote Cromwell as a good guy,
You know.
as a hero of history. Yeah, go preach that in fucking the center of fucking what's it? Across the glen and go see what happens. Go to Derry.
You're doing that in the bog side of Derry, or up to stand next to an
go
old
deep
family
into
house.
the Derry pits and preach
Yeah.
that as loud as you can.
See how long you'll last. It's like going down. It's like going down to I don't know, Harlem and going, all lives matter.
Like
It's-
Friday night as the pubs close and go in and shout fucking like pro British monarchy shit in the center of Derry.
Won't go down well. Yeah, definitely would not go down well.
After a week of hard toil and labor, and they're all so pissed.
It wouldn't be a.
I mean, if
Wouldn't
they're
be a
anything like me,
problem.
after getting kicked out of the pub, I'm gonna end up going to whatever shop is open and buying more booze anyways. So they might have a back bottle on them too to fucking fuck you with, and it may or may
Indeed.
not be full.
Well, yeah.
Albeit to the stereotype, none of us in the Brittonic Isles or the Emerald Isles mind wasting alcohol if it is gonna beat the shit out of you. We're not all. Because, I mean, like, the stereotype of English and Celtic people is that we're all, like, a bunch of pissheads. Who, like,
Yeah.
I mean, we are, but, like, we can
Speak for
spare
yourself.
we can spare a drop of
all-
alcohol to beat you up. Like, it's alright.
I'm a teetotaler, and I'm not very good at. I'm not the best at fisticuffs, but I'm quite good
That's
shot.
exactly why you use a full bottle, because it kills the fuck.
Yeah.
Belted with a full bottle of
Suppose air
booze in
rifles.
a glass bottle, you are fucked. You ain't getting up from that.
Yeah.
'Cause An
good at
empty,
making
bottle,
cocktails.
an empty bottle is enough to fuck you up.
Oh yeah.
And so
Not that bad.
a full
I'm
bottle
good,
is enough.
I'm
to
good at
send
making
you off.
cocktails that burn nicely as well. You know, I know how to do that. But
I mean, the amount of force you've got to put to smash that bottle, you'll crack the head open.
Yes. Be unpleasant.
So you might not even have to smash the bottle. You might still have the alcohol by the end of it and of the the bottle won't be less likely to smash as well, because glass is stronger than people seem to think, and so when you have a lot of fluid inside the glass, it gives it its rigidity that it needs.
Yes, true.
Glass is really, really strong material. I mean, it's heat pressurized sand, and if you heat treat it enough, well, I mean, it's not the only way to make glass, but you heat treat glass enough, then its process is being made.
Oh, SL. I just noticed
You
SL.
make glass that's super strong, and that's why China are doing all those trippy glass bridges and shit.
Yeah.
Which I have
Just
vertigo.
people are having to go. People are having to leave because they're all getting tired. I might have to do the same myself soon because I'm starting to flag a bit now.
Queen
Might have to.
Elizabeth was a villain. Well, the world will be ending soon now that global warming is an all-time high. Well, I mean, I am also at an all-time high, so I mean, we're at least sorry. There was a chance for a stoner joke. I don't know whether global warming is the right time to make jokes, but you know,
Yeah.
we're not all gonna die. Most of us might. I mean, we do need to stop global warming as soon as possible, and it needs to be a part of our key struggles on an international basis. I mean, at the end of the day, in all forms of struggle that we try and push as communists in the first world, we need to be centering ourselves around proletarian internationalism, and you know, we can find that solidarity by building up for the Lumpen proletariat first, because they are already an active and organizable proletariat that has a common connection and solidarity with the third world more so than the proletariat in the first world does, other than the lower end of the proletariat, which is predominantly made up of colonized peoples, as it is.
Right, yeah, that's true. I'm gonna have to go out very soon because I'm starting to get very tired.
Well, that's it. I'll just bring this to an end then. So, like,
Yes, the lower end of the proletariat needs to be. Well, maybe if they're not, are they radicalized enough already? I'm not going to go into that too much now, but yeah, it's definitely.
we gotta get them on the cool people level, the radical commie level. None of that rad lib shit round here, motherfucker.
No, definitely not. I was going to say something else, but I think I've said everything now. So maybe I should.
No, but I mean, with the lower proletariat, it's like it's one of them things. You know, they're more lumpenized these days than they are not. I mean, it's so hard to retain consistent labor in the lower proletariat without being thrown on and off jobs or get stuck on agencies.
Yes. Noticed that in the last 20 years it became more and more the norm. It's just been absolutely fucking grim. Like you're working temp jobs all the time. It's like in the Great Dust Bowl era, were like migrating across. John Steinbeck made a writing career talking about this. You know, people migrating from one state to the next, looking for work, and then up and leave and then go to the next place and jumping on trains and stuff. It became mythologized in song and literature and movies and stuff. You know, and it's kind of like that in a much more mundane way with job agencies and shitty fucking 0 hours contracts where you can't. I mean, people are dying now because they can't they can't take time off work. They're just it's decaying capitalism in its worst form. That's why they're fawning over the monarchy so much. It's a very convenient distraction. You know that. It's old news, but it's something to reiterate, I suppose. Yeah. Maybe I should I leave that as a finishing speech and bow out now because I'm starting to get a bit like
I'm a bit tired myself, so we'll try and wrap it up around this. So it's like, you know, the way that we gotta poise ourselves in all of these motions is, you know, number one, you know, from the Britannic Isles perspective and the occupied Irish territories, and the other regions of the British Empire that are under the crown. Anti-Monarchist struggle. Let's keep pointation. Republicanism needs to be at the forefront. Now, republicanism, as Connolly rightly pointed out, cannot survive without socialism. So socialism needs to be directly tied to this republicanism, even in England.
Yes. Yeah.
And so in these processes forward, it's like, okay, well, we understand with revolutionary defeatism, we're not going to get a revolution in the First World yet in these regions. Okay, so what's the pointation of struggle? Well, we've got to organise anti-war struggle and pro-climate struggle in the First World.
Yeah.
If you're going to get that going, okay, that's an action. That's not a writing books or selling newspapers thing. Get that fucking shit out of people's heads now. Everyone needs to get the shit out of your heads. You're not the Bolsheviks. Sit the fuck down. You ain't at that stage yet. How about I mean, newspapers are good to have, but you know what? How about get to the point of like organizing the people that will do action? You need action, get action going.
Yes.
So you need to organize the lumpen proletariat, the broken proletariat, the lumpen proletariat. We haven't got strike power. We don't have that. So if you go and organize, okay, what power do they have? Well, that's going to be protest, action, activity. So you need them protests starting. Go and organise the people that will start them protests. I mean, when I get my health in order, that's what I want to be starting and doing. And you're going to get them things going. Like, it's one of them.
It's a good way. Might be a good way to knock things on the head, maybe.
Yeah.
Abolish monarchy and do a republican socialism. They are absolutely inextricably linked. They're not. You can't separate them. I mean, they tried to do that with Ireland, and look what they got: the Irish Free State, which declares itself a republic, but it isn't. Still, a good old comrade and friend Marxist Paul even pointed to that in one of his very educational videos. Dublin Castle is still paid for by the Irish taxpayer, to
It
English
still
landlords.
belongs to the British Empire, though.
Yeah. So in other words, you need socialism and republicanism in one. But
As
anyway,
James
I'm not going to
Connolly
go.
said, it would be carnival on both sides of the border. Both sides will become a laughingstock of each other.
And that's actually quite true. It is actually definitely. I've noticed that before. So yes.
And fascism
Anyway.
is on the rise in the Irish Six Counties.
Yeah, particularly the 6 counties, and the other 26 counties also. There's
Their
more of a
own
resistance.
brand of Irish Republican fascism
Yeah,
in both
yeah.
the provost and the state itself.
The right wing trend. That's what always put me off the Provos. The right wing trend.
The provost proved that they never went left. They never went left. Jerry Adams is not a left winger. That's something to leave it on. Anyone who thinks Jerry Adams is a left winger or someone who's gullible enough to think fucking what's his name, Scottish fucking I support the Union. Galloway. Did Galloway pay respects to the monarchy? That's something I wonder.
I don't. I think even he.
I don't know. I criticised him, so I might be blocked.
I don't think I'm blocked actually yet. I don't think he knows who I am. I'm not very well known on the YouTube scene just yet.
I mean,
Josh hasn't
what's
sent
it?
his little minions
I wonder
after
if
me
Caleb Boppin will still be his favourite American reporter after all the hanky panky wanky tanky yanky spanky stuff.
Yeah.
I got it right this time, SLR 44. You should be proud of me.
Yeah, SLR 44 is gone, I think, isn't it? Yeah. Talking of which, I must go myself. Yeah. It's,
Leaving Earth is stupid. This person's pushing this like Elon Musk shit.
I
Like,
don't have a problem with I don't have a problem with
Elon Musk is the kind of guy who smells his own farts and call them inventions. Like, you know,
yeah.
he's never invented shit in his life. Like, he just
I have a
like
problem
helped
with this.
finance PayPal once.
Leaving Earth might be a necessity, but not yet. There's other priorities first,
I mean, maybe
Eventually,
in the next 300 years, that's what I say to people about leaving Earth. Like, it's really
I mean,
not
it's-
something that's gonna happen in our lifetime.
I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing per se. It's just that capitalists monopolize it for themselves because they want to just leave it like the Ark, the sinking ship, and you're using it as a
You know, like one of them rockets that go up will burn enough like greenhouse gases into the air for like 1 billion cars or some shit like that. Or like a billion,
they don't give a
it's
shit
like a
'cause they'll
billion,
be-
a billion years of like America's car use or some shit like that. And it's like, fucking hell, like Jesus Christ, that's a lot of fucking greenhouse gases.
I'm a big fan of the old. I mean, I'm a bit of a sci-fi nerd anyway, but I do think that's perfectly good. It's
We've
just
got to find a way to get up there without making those greenhouse gases, because our ozone layer, even if we were to stop all what we're doing now, our ozone layer can't take those types of. We can't take explosives going off like that and burning off all those. Because all the carbon.
Does that mean we need space communism?
We need some. Well, space communism actually is born from a Eurocentric idea, so you gotta be careful with that.
Well, yeah.
Born from
Yeah,
a
but
Eurocentric idea of technological development. Because I mean, a lot of places in the world. I mean, like Jamaica, for example, what they're gonna want with communism is like everyone to fucking leave them to just be chill with what they got. Like they'll develop things as they want to develop things. Like you ever speak with a Jamaican about like how they see the world? They're like, we don't like the first world, third world thing because the way they see it, they're like, the first world is here. You guys are in your fucking third world hellscape of fucking this constant over exacerbation of production and all this other shit. And
It's a bit of a long one, that. But yeah.
they just want to enjoy their life and do what they want with their culture, their country, and their society, and go about their own things. And if they go about, because at the end of the day, we have a fetishization of our own ideas around economic development, but other world don't see it that way, and not because they're in a lesser position, but because it just doesn't rhyme with them. They just don't grind that way, and I don't grind that way all the way. Like I am very interested in sci-fi stuff, but I'm also like, I think the Jamaican people are right about it. I think nature is more important at the moment. I see nature as the main driving force.
I don't see don't see technology being unnatural. I just think it's how you do it. And again, it's because
No, I mean, what I mean by that is that, like, with the way the world is, nature is the most important thing to be driving
it's
for. So I'm fucking pro technology.
bottom line is they're doing it under capitalism, and it's all about markets, and it's not about nature and survival. It's about how much money we can make out of it before we blow
Well, I
ourselves
mean,
to
they
pieces. That's
constantly destroy it. I mean, the Amazon's burning as we speak.
yes, and I'm not going to go on about that now because it's
Oh, we'd be
getting
here
on.
for hours, but Amazon's
Yeah.
burning. People seem
Yes,
to forget that in the first world.
yes, they do.
I mean,
Yeah.
even I'm guilty of it. We're all guilty of it because it's
Yeah,
something
it's
that people think
difficult.
it's done because the mainstream media was talking about it last year, but they're not talking about it anymore.
It's difficult.
Oh well, it's the
It's
year
difficult
before
to know
actually.
what
It's
to
2 years
do.
ago they stopped speaking about it. Sorry.
It's difficult to know what to bloody do when you're in the first world. You know, you feel that we're so fucking atomized, and it was even worse with bloody COVID and stuff like that. We're all at a loss. And of course, they're using. I mean, as I say, not to deny COVID's real. Obviously, it fucking is real. But that doesn't mean that the government aren't going to use it to stop us from protesting and stop us from striking and stop us from doing because
I haven't got
they'll
the tin
capitalize on
foil
anything.
to stick over my hat. I've
It's
got a
like
hat on
it's
though.
like I'm liking the black hat. It's like saying crime doesn't exist because the police are bastards. It does, yeah, and the police will use crime to justify their own violence. You know,
I
it's a
mean,
fucking
the
stupid
police
notice.
during the COVID protests, where all the white Americans, like a lot of right-wing white Americans, are getting bitchy because they couldn't get a haircut. Police were very restrained. They were very restrained and very well behaved.
Yeah, I
BLM
remember.
protests, they were going around purposefully just shooting random people. And there was this one woman who was tweeting about it. And she was like, I was in the SmackDown with it, and there was this one cop that was proper grinning and really enjoying it. Like they were getting off at the fact that it was a left wing protest and it was about black people, and they could just go and target people and just say, oh, well, they were violent rioters. That's where they push all that, like, oh, there's rioters and looters. There's barely anyone looting shit. And even if they were, most of the time it was like corporations and shit. It's like, it's a fuck. But basically, they just take any small like concept of looting, even if there isn't any looting, just make the concept of, oh, there's looters, and they use that as like precedent of to cause violence for the police. It's like, okay, the police, there's looters, there's rioters, and so the police are like,
Oh yeah.
wicked. That means we can just go target random protesters, and they go and do that to put terror into people. And what happens? Those white people stop protesting. Why is BLM
Yeah.
over? BLM shouldn't be over. BLM hasn't succeeded.
No, no. Well, it's been co-opted and bourgeois.
Well, it's just ended because there's no
Yeah.
organization. I mean, even if a liberal organization calls itself BLM, BLM's not an organization; it's a movement, and that movement's ended, and it shouldn't have ended. It should still be going right now. I mean, black people certainly haven't stopped pushing
well,
it. They've been pushing this shit for fucking
Got
centuries.
equality now. With the Democrats won, so it's okay. Everything's fine.
Oh,
But
your
anyway,
Trump's out of power, so everything's fixed.
Yeah.
Even though Biden was the guy who was in power before
Yes.
Trump, so how is everything fixed?
Anyway, I'm gonna.
I
I think
Is this the
revolution's gonna
democracy that we're built? This is what Game
Yeah,
of the
the
Monarchy
revolution's
tomorrow
happened.
would be like if we go for the American Republic style.
Oh, fine. You can't have a revolution though, because people might die. Look how many million, zillions that the communists murdered, and they ate children, and they came back. They brought them back to life so they could kill them again, because that's how you
I
get around.
thought you were against the violence of the British Empire. Why do you want to usurp them with violence? Hypocrite much.
Yeah. If you use violence, you become the same as them. Fuck off, you fucking bourgeois
You
liberal.
were born
Stick
to
your head.
destroy the Sith, not join them. I don't know. That's the only thing I can think of. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's been a nice long chat. We've
It
done
has.
some good things out there. Um, you know, we're not going to stop pushing anti-monarchism. It's going to be the drive forward. I mean, when I've gotten my hospital shit out the way, I want to be getting some AI on here and other stuff like that. And you know,
There's Sugar Joe. There you go.
unfortunately, the times didn't line up, but I was hoping to get Marxist Paul on there. But I'm going to get Marxist Paul on my channel at some point and have a conversation with him.
Yeah,
because
I'd like to do the same actually. I messaged him on other media. I'll have to tweet. Message him
I
on
was
Twitter.
speaking to him the other day, like, what's it, yesterday. I was
Nice.
having a good chat.
Keep meaning to
Marxist
have
Paul's
me.
an absolute legend. If people ain't subscribed to Marxist Paul, you
Total
should go
fucking
subscribe
dude.
to Marxist Paul.
Very fond of the guy. Lovely fella. Lovely fella.
Absolute legend. Like he's
Oh,
got
yeah.
a heart of gold.
Socialist Swan. Let's give a shout out to Socialist Swan. He's a mutual friend of mine and Paul's. And he's a
Yeah,
good
I
lad.
know. I know Socialist one a little bit.
Lad.
Angles this gets along well with him. Remember
Yeah,
rightly.
Engels is our good old friend and brother as well, So I'm gonna go anyway, and this has been fun. So I shall resume more of this. I think later. Could you like send this to me because I can upload it as well and put it out there. And
Yeah, I should be able to send it. Yeah,
if you
that's
get a
it.
chance, if you can, don't worry about it.
I
Yeah.
should be able to
Okay.
send it. Yeah, that's it. So it's been good saying yes. It's been good speaking with you all, comrades.
Likewise.
Red salute, you little dickheads.
Salute to everybody.
Wankers.
Becky V, Matthew Valente, and all the rest of MSLR's gone for a while. But yes, all
said, um, you know,
I'm losing the plot.
I can't find the stop stream button.
Well, I'll talk to you later.
Speak to you later. Respect, brother.
On the phone.
Respect.
Sugar Joe.
What's it? I think it's Tiokfed. Ala. I might have gotten that wrong. But love and respect, brothers and sisters. I'll catch you on the flip side. Gone to university, sexy for more than I remember returning from a year off. University is full of the academic mindset of the petty bourgeoisie, so it's gonna be that way. That's it. Pressure is always solidarity or say God there. Yeah, solidarity with respect and love, solidarity and respect. Say God there. If that's how it's pronounced properly. I'm probably butchering it. I butcher everything. Respect, brothers and sisters. Red salute. Stay frosty and stay anti-monarchist. Rest in peace, Lizzie, High-Cuntess of the British Empire. Say hello to Hitler in hell, you little bitch.